or like someone that is an artist, someone making something beautiful, someone that paints the fucking lines on the road is making society better. You know, anybody that's adding
value.
And then there's some fucking lazy geek who's just sitting at his fucking computer who tricks someone else into fucking, if you buy Bitcoin through my exchange, then blah, blah, and they're just parasitically making money off of tricking other people. It's like, I hate that. Well, welcome to the show again. Welcome back. Thank you everybody for joining. Happy Thursday. What's up? We got you in the house.
Yeah, no, it's been No, it's a Saturday.
Well, it's Saturday for us, but we're time traveling.
I guess you post on Thursdays, right?
We're time traveling.
There we go.
Happy Thursday, everybody.
Happy Thursday. Yeah. No, things are good. This morning was pretty relaxed. I just got up, had some coffee, read a little bit, and then made my way out here from downtown Vancouver. Now we're in Richmond. So
yeah, thanks for making the trip out here, man. I might have to turn you up a little bit. That's probably a bit too much. I can hear myself. That's good. Yeah, dude, it was a good morning here. We went for a hike this morning.
Oh yeah, where at?
Lynn Headwaters up in North Van.
Oh yeah.
I love that place.
I was just up there. I filmed a YouTube video with my buddy Dave Gu. We were at Lynn Canyon though. And it was a Wim Hof breathing session. And then we dipped in the river. We did like a 3 to 4 minute cold immersion. And my other buddy Braden, that's a filmographer, he took a bunch of really cool footage and like drone footage. And yeah, so that'll be getting released sometime soon as well. But that area is awesome. Super beautiful.
Yeah, man. I love that area a lot. You said you were reading this morning. What kind of book? What are you reading right now? Is that book you were talking about?
Yeah, so I'm reading. Coaching? I got a couple things on the go right now. I'm reading actually 1984, which I think you've read before.
One of my favorite books.
Yeah, I actually have never read it. I read Animal Farm back in the day, but I never read 1984. Obviously, I know it's a very prolific book, so I bought that a while ago. I'm probably like 3 or 4 chapters into it. I'm not super deep into it. I'm currently rereading The Art of Becoming a Supple Leopard by Dr. Kelly Starrett, which is more of like a training and pain management system. He kind of like, I don't want to say pioneered, but he was definitely at the forefront of like foam rolling, SMR. He calls it smashing in the book, but like soft tissue release basically, and systems around functional movement. So that's going to be a really good reread. And then, the book I was reading this morning, which was called Coach Builder, Donald Miller. He has a couple of really good books I told you about. He has one called Building a Story Brand, which is really good. And then this one is more related to business coaching, but you could use it for other types of coaching as well. Obviously, I do, online strength and lifestyle coaching. So I'm relating it to that. But there's been some really good, I'm only a few chapters in, but there's been some really good takeaways so far. So those are kind of what I have on the go currently right now in terms of reading.
Yeah. Where do you kind of fall on the, do you do like a lot of like foam rolling and recovery and stuff like that?
Yeah, 100%. So what I tell all clients about foam rolling and recovery is, because there's 2 ways you can use foam rolling, right? You can either use it preemptively before a workout, and that's going to help to alleviate pain and open up range of motion. You're basically helping to, it's called releasing the fascia. It's not really a release though. It's more of a flushing of fluid through the tissue, which can help with, tissue fluidity and helping you move better. But also the actual pressure of the foam roller on the receptors in the muscle can help to lessen the pain. Like if you're really sore, really tender an area, that can actually help you to move better in the workout itself. If you're doing it post workout, it's more from a recovery standpoint of basically just giving yourself a massage. But no, 100%, it is super beneficial. I think everybody should be using it. I know there's going to be some people that argue with that say like, oh, it's BS, or you shouldn't stretch, you shouldn't foam roll, and it doesn't work. But no, like I like personally and with all my clients, foam rolling definitely does have a huge effect, especially over time, right? I always tell people with foam rolling, it's not so much about doing it once for a long period of time, it's about frequency. So, if you are super tight somewhere, you don't just foam roll it once and then leave it. It's like, no, you got to hit that thing every day or a couple times a week, and then you'll start to see the benefits of that over time.
Yeah, yeah. I obviously there's one in almost every room in my house, so
Yeah,
I use them like literally. We were watching like a movie last night, and I think like 40 minutes in, I was like, I need to like stretch and move. Like this is,
dude, 100%.
I'm like that, dude. I don't know if it's true or not, but I feel like when I use a foam roller, it's like kind of realigning my spine. I don't know if that's actually true or not, but it feels like it. I feel
like
like
when you're foam rolling your back, or
yeah. I don't know if this is like a legitimate thing, but I just feel like, especially like grappling or anything like that, like you're always kind of hunched forward, and I do a lot of that in work, and I just sit naturally like that. And I feel like after I foam roll on my spine, like it cracks my whole back.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
And then, just moving in different ways. Like I do like the self hug and roll out my upper back.
Perfect.
And then I do the reach over my head as far as I can, like little things like that. But I feel like after I've done that, it like cracks. I'm like, I feel like I have my range of motion back.
Yeah, well, I think there's a couple pieces there. One is that you are spending more time in that kind of rounded forward, what we'd almost call kyphotic position, which a lot of people do. Like a lot of my clients spend time in front of the computer all day, and that's a similar position, right? Like I do kickboxing, Muay Thai as well, and like same thing, right? You're going to be shoulders forward. You got to defend yourself. You got to be rolled forward, and that's not necessarily like the best optimal postural position, right?
Look at like Nick Diaz or Nate Diaz's posture.
Yeah,
dude.
no. So what you're doing is you're basically, and this is another important thing to think of. It's like when you're talking about recovery and foam rolling, it's like how much time are you spending in that forward position? You should probably be spending an equal amount of time trying to open up and undo that position. So when you're on the foam roller, you're not only massaging out the tight musculature from that position, but you can also work on your thoracic mobility, meaning that we're not rounding forward, but we're actually rounding back. Because that's a big issue for a lot of people, is that they're so stiff through their thoracic spine, which is their upper back. Your thoracic spine is actually meant to be fairly mobile, right? You're supposed to be able to rotate. You're supposed to be able to move fluidly around the thoracic spine. A lot of people are super locked up though. So by doing that 100%, you are improving mobility, and you are working those opposite positions, right? It's the same thing we talk about when we talk about somebody sitting. They're sitting at a 90-degree angle. The opposite of that is going to be hip extension. So like you think about doing like a glute bridge, right? Opening up the hips, or a deep lunge and that back hip is really opening up. That is hip extension, right? Versus hip flexion, which is that 90-degree angle. So when I tell a lot of my clients that are, they're sitting down all day, we need to do the opposite movements of what you're doing all day to help undo that, right? Because if you're sitting at a 90-degree angle all day and you're not doing any sort of hip extension, that's going to start to become chronically shortened, especially the hip flexor, and then the glutes are going to be chronically lengthened, meaning the glutes start to become less active and the hip flexors start to become tighter, and that's where you start to have people have a lot of low back issues, and then you also have the upper body. So there's a ton of myriad of issues, but that's why it can't just be just stretching or just foam rolling or just yoga. You need to do the strengthening as well, because as much as we're going to have chronically inflamed and shortened muscles, we're also going to have chronically underactive and weak muscles. And all of that needs to be addressed in order for you to function optimally and properly. But our lifestyle these days doesn't really work with that. It's not congruent to that. It's a lot of we're sitting in the same position, we're working. One thing I've even noticed now that I'm doing more computer work a lot is my neck will get a lot tighter, especially like my SEM, your sternocleidomastoid that's on the front here. Just from looking down, I do a lot of stuff on my phone, so looking down at the phone. So
Text neck,
man, it's a real thing,
Yeah.
and I do a lot of work on my, clavicle region, my neck. I think people should be also training their neck because that's also going to help to alleviate. So, you see the ads for like iron neck. I actually think doing that kind of stuff is phenomenal for alleviating pain long term because people are strengthening their necks in the kind of the wrong way, that wrong pattern of just hanging their head down all day, right? So there's so many issues in our modern lifestyle that we have with movement that can be solved through movement if we're moving correctly and we're kind of working on those pieces, right? So yeah, it's but it happens to everybody. Even I have my little things that pop up every now and again, and but I have the tools to kind of undo myself, so to speak. And that's what I try to instill with a lot of my clients as well, is like, hey, like, what if you didn't need to go see a chiropractor every 2 weeks or go see an RMT every 2 weeks, and like you could just massage yourself at home, and you had the tools to take care of your own body long term, right? Because that's one of the most important gifts I think you can give anybody, is helping them stay healthy and stay mobile and feel good long term, right? The older you get, I mean, are you 30 yet, or are you?
I'm 28.
Okay,
I'll be 29.
We're the same age. Yeah, I just turned 29. So we're creeping up on 30, but that's the thing. A lot of my 30 and 40-year-old guys will tell me is like, oh, just wait to get your 30s, wait to get your 40s. You do get these things that build up over time. I have a ton of injuries. I'm sure you have a ton of injuries as well, and it's something that builds up. But learning to manage those injuries and manage your movement and be able to really take care of yourself is like a crucial skill to living a functional and high quality life into older age, right? Otherwise, what happens is you just deteriorate more and more and more, and that's when people get into like pain management with like medications and this and that and the next thing, when it's like they probably earlier on, if they just would have done more movement based stuff, strengthening, they could have mitigated a lot of that, right?
Yeah, I literally, it's funny. I was just having a conversation with someone this morning, a buddy of mine that came on the hike with us, and he just transitioned. We had a former employer in common, the three of us, and
Yeah.
he worked at the gym as well, and he was in corporate sales.
Okay. Yeah.
And he's transitioned into the trades, and so he's taken on an apprenticeship. And he was saying, like, he's been there for X amount of months, say like 6 months, I think it was. And he's like, I stopped training when I started working in construction because, you're humping pipes around, like cast iron pipes around, or, you're clamping pipes all day, or you're climbing ladders, or you're digging trenches, or, when you start plumbing, like that's basically, you're doing the grunt work, right?
No, it is for sure.
And he was saying, he's like, I'm just starting to get back into strength training again, because I'm realizing like how many, and I've had this conversation countless times to the point where I get annoyed with it now.
Yeah.
But he's like, I've realized there's no way to avoid it. And it's like, dude, you have two options. When you look in the trades, you see one of two types of men. And there's like the old Italian Mario looking plumber, like fucking gut hanging out, and he's wearing his overalls, and he's fucking bitching about his back and his knees and his neck and his shoulders and everything. And, all he talks about is can't wait to get home and have a 6-pack. Like, I'm going to have one on the ride home, like road pops. And, like the type of guy that lives off of like,
Gotta have the road pops.
yeah, darts and monsters and like,
oh man, yeah, that's rampant. I mean,
and then there's the other guys that are just like, I like to move and make money with my body and build shit and work with the guys, and
yeah,
and they're like making careers and building families, and you kind of have the choice. And I guess I'm kind of like stereotyping, but it's like there's people that have messaged me and they're like, I can't believe you work in construction and you train every day. And I'm like, I can't believe you work in construction and don't train every day. Like, how you?
Yeah.
No wonder you're in pain all the time.
Yeah,
Like,
no, 100%, man. And I've worked with lots of guys, in the trades or, even some of my online clients right now, they work up in like the oil fields and it's, it is a choice at the end of the day, always. And I know like the big thing for them is like, I just worked a hard, grueling day, physical labor, but there's still going to be patterns that you do every single day. Like say you're talking about the plumber, right? So he probably likes to lift more on one side than the other, and he probably, has certain patterns that he does every single day that are going to build up over time that he will need to strengthen the other side as well, right? And even just recovering from a day of bending over, like I had another guy that he built like he did like custom like roofing, and some days he'd be like, man, he'd come to train. He was an in-person client of mine, and he'd come to train, and he'd be like, man, I spent the whole day in like this hunched over position, just nail gunning stuff or this, and it was like the
Shingles
8
are heavy
hours.
too,
Yeah,
man.
8 hours of just being bent over, right? So, and it's like, well, okay, like if you spent that much time in that position, like let's undo some of that, right? Let's do some rows. Let's do some foam rolling in the key areas. Let's do full range of motion, like mobilizing strength movements, right? Like it doesn't have to be super complex either. Like it's like if you are wiped, and this is the other thing, I have a lot of busy guys that I coach and women too, but the main thing is that maybe you don't have 2 hours to train, maybe you only have like 45 minutes or 30 minutes, but it's like don't be on your phone, be intentional, and you can get a ton of really good work done in 45 minutes to an hour. If you really hammer it home, you can get tons of good work done in 30 minutes. Will it be more bare bones? 100%, but it's like if you were to go into the gym, warm up quickly, you hit like a set of squats and a set of barbell rows and maybe like one other sort of like movement. You did 3 big movements, 45 minutes. That's still going to be a great strength training program for most people. And you're still getting in, a lot of good full body strength training. I would obviously be working in like some unilateral movements and stuff like that as well. But when you're short on time, it's like you don't really have time to do just like the bicep curls and the isolation movements. You got to focus on the bread and butter, right?
Yeah, I agree, man. I've started recently. I've tried to like implement a lot more of the movements that I do in work in my training, like just like bending down a lot or picking things up off the ground, like just deadlifts, like single leg deadlifts and like suitcase deadlifts, like little things like that. Because like, dude, I have to pick, like that's the functional type of stuff. Like
no, 100%.
It's like and one of the guys I work with, like he's a judo black belt, and
wow,
and he's like, dude, if I can twist my body and spin 200 pounds like another man's body over my hips or over my shoulder, like I can pick up 2x4s all day.
100%. You can,
like no problem. Like,
well, and that's the thing. Like we were talking earlier before the camera started rolling. The difference between like, because I started competing in strongman last year. And the reason I competed in powerlifting before that too. I used to play rugby and I've done a lot of different sports, but the reason I love strongman is because it's actually so much more relatable to real life. Like you're picking a sandbag up off the ground, which is like a unique shaped object that's like 250 pounds. And you might have to do that in real life. Like you might have to pick up a person or you might have to pick up an object.
An unconscious person.
Right? Like there could be a situation where like that's a more realistic thing than like a deadlift per se, right?
100%.
Or a squat. And also when you think about doing things in real life, you're not setting up perfectly to do a perfect movement.
No.
So it's like you're going to be either like one foot in front of the other. Like think about, I have a lot of my clients do stuff in like a split stance or like, like a boxing stance almost. Because it's like, when in real life are you ever going to be standing 2 feet beside each other and then, pushing something? It just doesn't happen in real life. You're always in an active stance when you do stuff that's active. Usually that's a split stance.
Yep.
And, it's got to be more relatable. And that's the thing that's missing from a lot of conventional training too, is rotation, right? You just see people pushing forward, pulling back, pushing up, like squatting down.
Yeah.
And it's very sagittal and very frontal. I would even say like a lot of people miss the frontal stuff. It's very sagittal. Everything's sagittal. Which
Up and down is that what that
yeah,
means?
basically up and down,
Okay,
right?
yeah.
Frontal is like side to side.
Yeah.
And most people, even in the beginning of training, I'm like, you don't do any lateral movements.
Like side lunges.
Yeah.
would be, like,
Side
the
lunges, or like I get people to do a lot of banded side steps to like strengthen their glute med, because people just go forward.
Been there. Yeah, I've had to
Right?
do a lot of those.
And then rotation is the other piece that most people don't train, because it's like your body's a three-dimensional unit, right? It's like it can go up and down, it can go side to side, it can go
twisting
around, right?
Well, rotation is literally the most powerful movement for humans. Like,
And that's where most
boxers
people
throwing a
get
punch,
yeah.
baseball swinging, like
that's
volleyball, anything.
100%, which I mean comes back to what's something called spinal engine theory. There's a lot of people that talk about that online, but it is the idea that like rotation is one of the most powerful things that we have as humans. And
I would think it's the most powerful thing. I would think. I don't know.
it is, but it's also the kinetic chain, right? It's like it's the ability to transfer force from the ground through the hips into the core musculature, then through the arm. If we're talking about like a punch, right? It's like it's a chain reaction. It's like it starts at the hip. It starts at the foot.
Foot pivot.
Yeah. It starts with putting out that cigarette butt on that back foot, right?
Yeah.
And then but at the end of the day, yeah, like that, like when I have people that are like, I hurt my lower back, and this has happened. I've actually had multiple conversations recently with somebody saying, hey, I hurt my lower back. And I'm like, how did you do it? And so I'll take this example, working professional guy. And he was like, oh, I hurt my back throwing like a ball. And I was like, okay, why do you think that is, right? Because like that shouldn't hurt your back, but it's because you sit down all day in a 90-degree angle, you do everything sagittal, you don't have any rotation in your life, like in your training, and then you expect to be able to go on Friday, go play, rec league baseball and rotate through and throw a ball, or like it's, your body is untrained now to do that. It's not a natural movement for you anymore because you've lost that ability. You don't train it. So therefore, when you're chronically inflamed, you have chronically shortened chronically shortened muscles. And then you go do stuff that's, you think you should be able to do. It ends up hurting you because your body's not prepared for it.
Yeah. What do you mean by chronically shortened muscles? What does that mean?
So chronically shortened basically means like I said earlier, if I'm sitting down in this angle, my like hip flexor, so say like my psoas, is going to be in a shortened position or a flex position. And if I sit like this for 8 hours, it becomes chronically shortened, meaning that it's like more used to being in that position than being in a lengthened position. So your body's very smart. It's also very stubborn. It basically means that it's going to start to prefer that position to a lengthened position because it's like, oh, this is the position we're using a lot. So it learns that position and it starts to stay. Same thing with the text neck, how I said coming down, and the sternocleidomastoid, the SEM gets really short. It becomes chronically shortened because it's more used to being short than being long, because we have spent so many hours in that position that your body's like, oh, this is the position we want to be in now because this is the position we're taking. So chronically shortened just means that we've spent a lot of time in a position. The muscle has become short and inflamed and is basically not in its natural state, its natural lengthened position.
Yeah. You've like almost shortened as far as it can lengthen.
Yes, yeah. It's you've learned a pattern and it's holding on to that pattern, right? Which is where the mobility and the strength training comes into play.
That's funny because when you were asking, like, proverbial, why do you think your injury was? I was thinking about the last, like, 2 injuries I've had.
Mm-hmm.
And if I were to try and summarize it, it's because I tried to, like, add power while my muscles were already lengthened.
Okay. Yeah, like what were some of your previous?
The last 2 I can think of was a dislocated shoulder.
Ooh, yeah.
So, like, labrum fully extended, like someone pulling my arm,
Yeah.
and then me flexing, trying to get out of that position while it's already lengthened.
Yeah, I mean, when you're talking about jujitsu, though, that's a different ball game because you also now have an external force that's like that's the reason. So I'm gonna be straight up, like that's the reason I haven't done jujitsu is because I have previous neck and shoulder injuries from rugby and ankle injuries.
It can definitely be rough.
And the idea that of somebody reefing on that consistently, I know that I'll probably get injured again.
Yeah,
and
you gotta have no ego. You have to tap in those.
Yeah,
things.
100%. I mean, I do want to try it eventually. Like, it definitely interests me. But no, man. I like a lot of the guys that I know that do jujitsu. They, you end up getting some sort of a joint injury or a hyperextended this or this and that.
Dude.
It happens all the time, right?
Yeah.
So, and I mean, it's a fantastic sport for sure. And I definitely mad respect for all the people that compete in it, all the people that do it. It's awesome, and I think it's a great skill to have as well. But
you don't get to do joint manipulation regularly without having some fucked up joints. That's
exactly kind of what's kept me away from it. So I stick more to the kickboxing and the Muay Thai. I mean, I've broken some toes and stuff doing that, and obviously, like I just said, my nose has kind of gotten a little more messed up for breathing through. But at the end of the day, I don't have people reefing on my joints, right?
Yeah.
The worst thing that's going to happen is maybe you get swept or, some stuff in the clinch, or your quad gets beat up and, you can't walk because your calf, your quad, your hamstring, brain damage. Yeah, that too. Yeah.
Brain damage.
Yeah. yeah. That's 100%. A little bit of that for sure. Can't forget about that. Yeah. The CTE.
Yeah.
But no, it's, it's definitely something so when people say, cause my worst injuries that I have are from rugby and they're not necessarily your fault, right? Like if you're lifting something, that's no other person's fault. That's like you're lifting an inanimate object, you're throwing an inanimate object. That's a decision you made. When you involve other people, like one of my worst injuries was I have a complete, I'm missing ligaments in my left shoulder because I completely tore them in rugby. And it was because I got hit one way. Like I had the ball, someone tackled me, and then someone came in from the side and immediately hit me the other way. So it was like boom this way, boom the other way, and my arm just went pop, pop, and just, right away I knew it was messed up. And they used to actually put a pin in the shoulder to keep the clavicle and the shoulder together, but they don't do it anymore because it causes actually worse arthritis down the line than
the bones fuse.
Yeah, so they just don't put anything in there. So I actually I'm just missing a ligament in that shoulder. It still crunches. It's still pretty messed up. This side of my neck, I got in a car crash after that too. This side of my neck's pretty messed up.
Shit.
And that's another reason why I'm like, I don't really want to, like, those are the worst injuries I've had. Like anything to do with joint, shoulder, neck, hip. Those are the worst because they affect everything that you do on a regular basis, right? So
yeah, I mean, you definitely when you see guys that are in jiu-jitsu in their like 40s, 50s, 60s, you definitely hear stories of quite a bit of like hip pain, knee pain.
Yeah, when it's not surprising.
I think Hickson Gracie has like a bunch of like fused vertebrae in his back. Like I might be wrong, but
you're probably right, to be honest. Yeah, it's not even like that surprising, right? It's years and years of like rough manipulation and.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's arguments to be said. Like I said, there's definitely you're gonna, especially in regards to like young men doing it with the egos that we have. Like we're definitely more prone to like I'm gonna try and fight my way out of this as opposed to like I'm gonna tap and just restart. Like if you're trying to win sparring rounds, you'll probably be injured.
Yeah, well that's actually what I'm not worried. So, like, I had a buddy that I don't know what belt he has, but he did a lot of jiu-jitsu, started when he was really young. He's legit. And I've rolled with him before, just trying to learn some basics. I'm not worried about rolling with somebody that knows what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
I'm more worried about me going in as a beginner and rolling with people that don't know what they're doing. Because that's when the injuries happen. Even in boxing. Like, I'm not worried about a guy that's a professional fighter and sparring with him, because I know he'll definitely, like, he'll get his shots in and stuff, but he's gonna be able to pull his punches when he needs to. He's gonna be able to, like, whatever,
Just tap away at you.
tap away, and like, it's a good learning experience for me.
Yeah.
Somebody that maybe, like you said, has the ego or is brand new and is just kind of throwing haymakers or whatever, like, and it's not usually how it is, but you always get the odd person, right? Even in pad holding, right? If someone can't hold pads properly, or that's more potential injury than being with somebody that knows what they're doing, right? Because they don't have the skill set yet. So that's what I've seen, at least in martial arts, is I almost think that for the beginners, there's more of a risk for injury than somebody that really knows what they're doing, right? Because you learn, like, I'm assuming in jiu-jitsu, you would learn when to tap. When you've kind of, like, I mean, you're going to push yourself, but you've been in so many situations that you kind of learn, when to go and when to not go, right? So
yeah, I mean, the culture is different in every school. Some meatheads. Well, I shouldn't say that. I should say.
Hey, we said they're out there, right?
Yeah,
they're out there.
There's people out there that will let people just run rampant and like be high energy, and if your jiu-jitsu is good enough, you'll be able to stop them. I like at our school specifically, like, you don't get to join like the advanced class until you've actually done like a fundamentals, and they can see, like, how to take a fall, how to stand up, how to defend yourself, basically, like how to do this simple movement.
Yeah, as it should be, right? It's the same with my
once you finish fundamentals, you can come to the advanced class, like,
exactly.
But the other thing, I don't know, like, jiu-jitsu culture, there's kind of like it kind of like polices itself in that there's like mat enforcers. So if you're like really spazzy and you come into a gym and you're like kind of like haywire and high energy and like kind of injuring people type of thing, there's like kind of an unspoken rule. Like, the gym owner will look at kind of the enforcer and just give him a look and give the new guy a look and be like, someone's got to deal with this. Like, and usually it comes with like 1 or 2 quick submissions and then just a pin in a controlled position, looking at the guy like, if you really want to do this, like, you're going to get smashed. Like, you can't.
100%. It's a respect thing at the end of the day too, I feel, right? Like, especially when you're talking about, there's always going to be somebody that's better than you. There's always going to be somebody that's more skilled than you. And I think, like, ego is fine, but also, like, humility and being humble, especially like when you're in a place like that where it is it's a school.
It's right? Like, what are you there for?
Yeah, you're there to learn, right? So, and if you're there and you're better than everybody, or you like, and you're just like throwing everybody around, it's like, well, maybe you need to go somewhere where you can go not be the best, right? Yeah. So
it depends on the culture of the gym too. Like, our gym is like, we're we have competitors. The kids program is extremely competitive. They like travel all over, like the US and Canada.
You're at Gracie Barra?
Or? No, I'm at a place called Apex Martial Arts.
Apex Martial Arts, okay.
Yeah, small little place in Richmond, but the kids there are like world class. The and even the adults are unreal. Like, they've got like tons of champions that have gone to Pans and all over the place. But most of the people there in the adults class, even in the advanced class, are hobbyists. Like, they're people that are there that, like you and me, have to go to work the next day.
Yeah.
Like, we're not there. And especially at training, like, it's like one thing if you're joining a competition and you're signing up in a weighted bracket where you have to go in, do weigh-ins, there's rules. Everyone has the same expectation that when we start, we're going 100%.
Yeah.
That is so different than a Tuesday night like advanced class.
100%. Yeah,
like,
no, 100%.
It's so different. So it's like, what are we here for? Like, dude, if you're trying to injure people and win rounds when we're trying to learn, like, that's where the miscommunication is. Like,
100%. And I mean, that's the same thing at I go to Muay Thai kickboxing, and at our gym, which is Lions MMA downtown. Like, we have the sparring classes that are...
Dude, they have sick jiu-jitsu guys there.
Oh, they do, yeah. That's what really draws me to it, is like that we do have some really good guys, and the coaches are awesome. But yeah, I always think about my joints at the end of the day, and Yeah, I am more drawn to the Muay Thai, the kickboxing. I started off just boxing actually in Victoria. Had a couple good coaches there. This was right kind of before the pandemic hit, like maybe a year before the pandemic. I started boxing, and then I actually stopped because I didn't really have any partners. There was one buddy I would always meet up with at the park to kind of do like pad work. We'd just like link up at the park and do it outside, and it was chill. But yeah, when I moved to Vancouver, that's when I got into Muay Thai because I was looking for a boxing gym, and Lions was close to downtown, close to me. I had actually had two friends that had already gone there and referred me to it as well, and said like, "Yo, you should definitely go here. It's like awesome community." But getting back to the like the sparring thing, is like we have there's kind of like different sparring classes. So you have like kind of the morning one, which is pretty chill. It's more like new people that are new to sparring. You have the 11 a.m. one that's right before the noon class. That's like, I would say a little more intermediate. That's the one that I would usually go to. You got some guys that have been doing it for a long time, but it's still not like super hard sparring. And then they have like the evening class, which, we have some guys that fight in BFL, and a couple guys that I think are almost getting into the UFC now. And that's kind of like the advanced sparring class. So like when I go to that one, that's where I really get my ass handed to me usually, because all the guys are super skilled. Also a great learning environment though, right? You kind of get to see like, oh, this is like what it means to like be really good at what you do. But yeah, there's something for everybody, right? So if you kind of know that, you can kind of pick and choose, where you want to go. But yeah, like you said, every school is a bit different, right?
Yeah. Isn't it so crazy when you're just completely outclassed and you're like, there's literally nothing I can do to be effective to this person? Like, they're so much better than me that, like, it's like.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we could talk a little bit about that too. That kind of ties into, we want to talk about competition. I competed amateur level for the first time in kickboxing last year. At the Western Canadian Martial Arts Championships. It was something I've always wanted to do. I was like, okay, I've been doing this for a little bit. I am a hobbyist, like, like some people do it way more than me. I think the people that take it super seriously, they're in there, they're at Lions twice a day, man, or more. Like they're doing like 2-3 classes a day. Yeah. Or they're just always around it. I run my own business. Do personal training. I do weightlifting. I do strongman. So I think when I was training for that, I was still probably in Lions 4 or 5 days a week, and I was doing some one-on-one sessions with one of the coaches there. But even so, like I'll definitely say that when I went to the competition, I was definitely outclassed by the guy that I was fighting basically. It's supposed to be like hard sparring, but you go full out.
Yeah,
like
yeah,
it's that's the same one. I don't know if you heard about the kid that got put into a coma.
Yep.
That was
a lot of legislation changes.
Yeah, so that was the competition that I was competing at actually. So,
young kid from Richmond, right?
Yeah. Because what happens is, right, you have like novice, amateur, and then like advanced categories. But I do feel like, a lot of the people just end up getting put into the novice category, even though they're way more experienced. Because that's something I heard even just amongst the crowd as I was there, was like, oh, like, somebody would fight somebody and be like, hey, don't worry about losing too much. That guy was definitely not a novice. He's got like 5 to 7 years under his belt, or like they're matching people that aren't really matched because there's a lack of.
I mean, dude, it's not foreign for the fight industry.
Yeah,
like, boxing's been doing shit with mismatched fights for years.
No, it's not, and it is what it is, right? You sign the waiver, you're getting into a physical altercation with somebody, but
there has to be, yeah. I know with jiu-jitsu with no-gi guys, because there's no belts in no-gi.
Yeah.
So I know for that, there's different ways that competitions do it. Some of them are like, if you have like less than 6 months experience, less than 2 years experience.
Well, that's what they say, right? Because like for the novice, it's like it's supposed to be a year to 2 years experience, but I knew guys in there that had been doing it a lot longer than that, right?
Yeah.
So, and it is a numbers game too, because it's like they want to have a bracket, so they kind of put everybody together. I was actually the only person, because I'm a super heavyweight. I fought at 245. I ended up fighting a guy that was like, I want to say he was 6'7", and completely like he was like 7 inches taller than me, way more reach, definitely outclassed me. He was more of a boxer, so I definitely took some heavy damage in that fight. But it was a good experience for me. Like at the end of the day, like I didn't win, but I still got in there and still got that experience, and like I'll definitely do it again. It's just
The nerves, though, dude. How good is that feeling when you overcome that anxiety? Did you get super nervous or anxious?
I felt pretty like, I mean, I've played lots of like rugby games. You always get that heightened, like you're like, hey, it's go time.
Isn't it so different though when it's just you?
It is, and I mean, the one other thing I'll say too is that when you're in that and you're getting hit, it doesn't actually hurt to get hit. You feel the impact, but you don't feel till after, right? And I took a couple good uppercuts. I didn't get knocked out or anything like that. I was like, I stood my ground. I got a couple good shots in too, and but it definitely showed me, like, if I was to compete again, I want to lose more weight. I want to be at a lower weight class, because I know there's gonna be more guys my height in that weight class, and also I'll be faster, because when I watched the footage back, I was like, I'm just definitely a bit clunky. I could have moved better. I could have flowed better. I could have timed my shots better. And so it was a learning experience at the end of the day. Like, I'd never competed before, but I still think that there was a lot of value in going to compete. One of the coaches even said to me, like a lot of people, like you just said, that will come into a jiu-jitsu or a MMA gym, they'll never compete though, right? I would say like most people won't. Most people will just do it as a workout or as a hobby, but it's a different thing to actually get out there and compete and put yourself on the line like that, right? So,
oh, dude, 100%. It's a completely different experience.
It's a different experience, and I like to compete. Like I've competed in rugby, powerlifting, strongman, now kickboxing.
Right.
I've done lots of races. Like I ran a full marathon 2 years ago. Like I like doing different physical feats. I like pushing my body. It's kind of my job too, right? I help other people push their bodies, so I kind of want to walk the walk and not just talk the talk. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. I don't know. For me, I feel like, I grew up playing hockey and rugby. I did one bodybuilding competition, like kind of early on in my adult years, like fitness years.
Yeah.
And it's a completely different feeling, like the level of anxiety that I get when I sign up for a jiu-jitsu competition. And it's like, the whole time I feel confident. Like I'm going for runs in the morning. I'm like, I'm so fucking ready. I'm visualizing things. I'm dreaming about it. Like I'm going to bed thinking about like, oh, I'm going to do this takedown. I'm going to do this. I'm going to combo into this. I'm going to do, there's like everything I'm thinking about.
Yeah.
And then the day I wake up, like Saturday morning, it's like, I feel like I'm going to throw up.
Yeah, like, shit, this is actually happening.
My stomach drops. And even though, like, when I get there, it's fun, it's just, like, the idea of, like, I'm going to be in an altercation with another man. Like,
no, 100%.
It's like, I don't know why. And obviously you know why. And everyone feels the same way. Because I've even talked to dudes at jiu-jitsu competitions, literally, like, 5 seconds after a match with the guy. And he's like, dude, I was so nervous for that. And
I mean,
we got through it together.
Yeah,
we got through it together.
100%, man. It's like, it was nerve-wracking, especially because I was one of the last fights of the day.
So everyone's there to watch.
Oh, dude, yeah. And I mean, at the end of the day, you know what? That's also an experience. Like if you getting your ass kicked in front of a bunch of people.
Oh yeah.
As like a more kind of new to fighting, and like, you know what? And I mean, I'll say this: I still stood my ground, and not like one of my coaches even said, nothing changes. You'll come back to the gym next week. People will be like, hey man, good for you. You went out there, you did your best. Let's get better, right?
Oh yeah.
It's not like a negative thing. And it's just also the whole thing of like, hey, somebody is always going to be better than you. And like I do want to go back to do another one and win, obviously, because I want that experience. I want to, I want to do better, and I want to like show that I've improved my skills. But I think that just tearing the Band-Aid off, and this is something I talk about with a lot of people for any competition, is you just got to tear the Band-Aid off and just do one, right?
Yeah.
Like, who cares if you're ready? You're never going to be ready if you always have that attitude of like, oh, I need to wait till I'm ready. It's like part of being ready is actually going and experiencing it. Because like now that I've done one, I'm like, okay, I know what the vibe's like. I know what it's actually going to be like to be in that state. Because like it's, you can spar somebody all day long. Sparring is still a learning session, right? And it's like when you're actually in it, it's different.
Oh,
all your combos, all your little this and that, it goes out the window.
Think. Yeah,
it doesn't. It goes out the window. You don't remember. Like you're just in it. You're just being like, how can I punch this guy or kick this guy right now? And that's a part of the game too, right? And like, you'll never learn that unless you do it. So.
Yeah. I know every person I've talked to basically says after their first jiu-jitsu competition that their forearms are completely seized.
Oh, I don't doubt it.
Because of grips.
Yeah.
And when you're in, the adrenaline kicks in, you're squeezing as hard as you can for every grip. And you're holding it. Imagine like farmers walking for 5 minutes. Like your forearms are just so locked.
Dude. Yeah.
Because you forget to relax. Like you forget to like, oh, he's not actually pushing or pulling me right now. Like I don't have to be full force. Like,
yeah. And isn't that one of the biggest skills of jiu-jitsu is staying relaxed when you need to, and then being able to kind of flow between relaxed and being tense. And yeah,
that is. But it's even just dude. I think one of the things I was going to say as well is what was about the competing and the loss and like the way that you perceive it. It's like I've done a couple competitions now. I think I've done like 4 and 5.
Yeah.
And I know it's the best feeling was my last one. That was my first competition as a blue belt. So it's like completely and every belt is kind of like this. I'm sure kickboxing or any category is going to be like this, where it's like when you're fresh in that, the gap between somebody who's about to be like the next belt and they're like at the top of that, and the gap of the person like in between the person that just entered versus the person that's about to leave is very wide. Like
100%.
It's like a 2 to 3 year like experience.
Yeah,
gap.
It's like if you're like a new blue belt and you're facing somebody that's like almost is it purple? Yeah, purple then brown, right?
So that was my first match in my first blue belt competition. I was so outclassed. I lost by like 23 points. Like you get points as you progress to better positions, and different competitions
they have a system.
It depends on the promoter, the competition rule set, but typically it's just like through advancing positions, like getting advantageous positions like a mount or side control or back control, takedowns, that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I was so outclassed, but I'll say that was one of the best losses I've had to face, because it's like I've had losses where like I was a bitch. Like I gave up mentally.
Yeah.
Or like I wasn't fit enough because I didn't train hard enough.
Yeah.
And like it's like, fuck, that's my fault. Like I suck.
Yeah.
And then the last time it was like, no, that was like the best I could have done. I felt like I was just completely outclassed. Like this guy his jiu-jitsu was way better than mine.
Yeah.
So it's like, oh, I know what I need to do. Just train.
No, 100%.
Like, I just need to be better. Like that's it. Like you just have to
100%. And that is the learning process.
And that's a better feeling. Because you're not like, oh, I'm broken. Like it's like, oh, I'm not doing anything wrong. He's just way better than me.
100%. Yeah. And that's, you do learn so much from the losses. Like, I actually read George St. Pierre's book a while ago. It's called The Way of the Fight.
Dude, speaking of martial artists, he's the GOAT.
He's the best, man. And he's like, I love his attitude too. Like he's just such a he's Canadian, so
Canadian
big
legend,
ups to him. But the book is honestly fantastic because he wrote it while he was about to get like this surgery, and it was coming off of the back of a loss to Matt Hughes. So the whole book is about him dealing with that loss and like reframing it, and also being really badly injured and having to get the surgery, and then coming back from that back into the UFC and then winning a fight again. And it's like a really cool kind of glimpse into like what it's like to be a professional UFC fighter, to like do that for a living and like live that lifestyle, but also the mindset that you have to have. And one of the craziest things though, man, is like he, like, this is just a cool story, but he basically wanted to be an MMA fighter so badly. This is before, UFC was like kind of just coming up, and he lived in Quebec, and there was like a native reserve that they would host MMA fights on the reserve. And he would like go and like sneak out and like watch these fights. And there was the one guy, this Quebecois guy, that was like the best in the area. And he saw him one day. He was driving. I think he was like 16 or something. He saw this guy walking one day, stopped the car, pulled over, ran out, and was like, "Hey, man, I want you to coach me. Like, I want you to like teach me how to do this shit." He had been in karate and stuff already too, but he wanted to get into MMA. And this guy was like, "All right, man, show up." He's like, "I don't have any money. I just like want to learn." He's like, "Okay, come to the gym tomorrow. Be there for this time. If you come, we'll train hard." This guy saw something in him. He's like, "Dude, this guy is like has what it takes." Started bringing in professional fighters to spar with George St. Pierre, and George St. Pierre was like beating them at like 16. Like, and he would like he started with a low level professional fighter. And he's like, "Oh, he beat him. Wonder if we bring in this guy? What's gonna happen?" Beats him. Wonder what's gonna happen. And he just kept bringing people in, and George St. Pierre just kept winning. And that's when he knew. He was like, "Dude, this guy's gonna be a legend. Like, this guy is like insane, athletically, just like has what it takes to be a champion." And after that, it was like this kind of like coaching relationship that he taught him everything he knew, and moved him up. And then that's when he started doing more jiu-jitsu, and he started doing other types of styles of martial arts. But I think that the karate fundamentals, like when you watch George St. Pierre fight, it always kind of stays his stance, right? That's like his base.
Yeah.
And it's cool because you do
Leading
have that
with the feet.
Yeah, you do have that with a lot of MMA fighters, where it's like some people start as wrestlers, some people start as Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, some people start with Muay Thai, and then it's like then they learn those other skills later on. Now you have a lot of guys that it's just they're starting as MMA fighters, they're learning everything at once, which is a little bit different, right? But it's interesting to see those people that are really skilled at one thing first, and then they transition into MMA.
Yeah, like Izzy.
Yeah, exactly, right? So
or Alex Pereira.
Yeah.
Dude, yeah. Martial arts is so crazy like that, man. And seeing different styles and the way that different people have to adapt their bodies, like, yeah, it's so crazy. But the one thing I love about George St. Pierre is, like, he, I think, has the smallest ego possible for how badass of a person he is.
Yeah,
like, how tough that dude is and how cool he is. When you listen to him in interviews and podcasts and like conversations, yeah, there's the press conferences where he's talking mad shit, but like for the most part, he's really down to earth.
He's
and,
pretty
like,
down to
super
earth,
kind, like very patient and compassionate. Like
he talks about that in the book, actually, how he becomes a different person for interviews versus like when he's like on the mats fighting. Like he has different mindsets, right? Because he's like, he knows when he's going into an interview, he's like, this is a public interview, I need to put my best foot forward. But he's like, when I get into the ring or the cage, it's like I'm not the same person. Like you have to turn a different part of yourself on.
Yeah.
And he's like, yeah, I can still be humble, I can still be a nice person, but have that warrior mindset. As soon as I step into the cage, I have to. And so like before a fight, he like 2 weeks ahead of time, he says in the book that he doesn't talk to family. He doesn't talk to friends. He only spends time in the gym. He only spends time with other warriors. He like meditates, gets his mind right, because he can't have any softness, any like he just needs to be fully focused. And that's part of the change too. It's like you really set up that environment for, you're about to go to war basically, right? Like, and he's like, I don't have time for family and friends during that time. I just need to only be focused on like the shit I'm about to do, which is go to war, right? So it's a super cool book, like just on like mindset, and he talks a ton about training. Like he trains for hours and hours every day and just eats and then goes to bed, wakes up, does it again, and that's like his whole life, right? So it's a different lifestyle, man, and it's like shed some light onto like how hard these guys are actually going. to make it to that level, right? Like people want to say like, oh, like, I could make it into the UFC, or I could do this, or I could do that, or I've even had conversations where people are shit talking people in the UFC, and I was like, you guys don't understand what it took to get to the UFC. Like to even get into the UFC is insane. To even be signed, to even have a chance to be in the UFC is like insane. They're a high level fighter if they're even talking about being in the UFC, right? It's not just
Even
like
some of the guys in like the local promotions, you watch them and you're like, holy
yeah, man,
shit, that guy's a gladiator.
100%. They're insane, and it's like the couch warriors, right? Like I've said this
But those
before.
guys are fucking losers anyways.
Like it's like the people that are sitting on the couch being like, "Oh man, like you should have done this or you should have done this," and like, "Oh, he's so shitty," and it's like, dude, he's still an amazing athlete. Like you don't even understand
You're like,
anybody.
bro, I could literally submit you. What the fuck are you talking about? Like,
Yeah, and
what
it's
are
always
you
the guys that don't actually do any martial arts.
That's what I'm
too.
saying. Like it's like
It's like
those guys
have
are
you ever
losers.
done any martial arts? Do you even understand like the background of like because like there is the core of martial arts is awesome. It's about like humbling yourself and being better and working on a skill set that there really is no endpoint to that skill set. It's something that you can always refine and always get better. Even the best guys in the world, there's still ways to be better, right? So it's like almost like an unachievable goal that just lasts a lifetime, right? It's an ongoing thing. It's the same for fitness, right? With you want to talk about weightlifting, and you could always have better technique. I mean, if you want to go that route, you could always lift a heavier weight. But it's kind of this ongoing work in progress, and also the relationships you build through it are awesome as well. It's kind of a bit of a sidebar, but the people that I've met through strongman or through powerlifting or through martial arts, they are some of like they're really down to earth generally. They're they want to train their body physically. They're usually really, really nice people. Sometimes nice people that have gone through some crazy life events, and they're using this as a way to manage that, right? So it's definitely a cool, and at the end of the day, it's community, right?
Yeah, man. And I know for like a lot of people, like I think like for the average person, one of the biggest things I could say for myself is it gives me something to look forward to. Like it actually, like there's a lot of things I realized as like, going through my 20s is like a lot of adults, a lot of people like in their early adulthood, they have nothing really to look forward to. Like most of their life is just like wake up, go to work, come home, watch Netflix, like, hang out with my girl, like, and so be it. Like that's cool. But for me, I felt like directionless. It gives me something to look forward to. It gives me something to work towards. It gives me something like, and I talk ad nauseum about it, but like it gives me something like an hour or two a day where you literally cannot think about anything other than that thing.
Yeah, you're focused on the task at hand, right? It's almost meditative in a way because you're not thinking about work, you're not thinking about responsibilities other than just sparring or rolling, and it can be fantastic for your brain. It's the same reason I think people love going for like a long run, right? It's like it gives you time to process and think. It also gives you something, like you said, to work towards. And the other thing that I think people overlook is the benefits of physical activity on your brain. Like I've read so many books now. If you guys are looking for a good one to read, Spark by John D. Rady. He's a doctor. It talks about all the physical benefits or not physical, but all the mental benefits of exercise. And
like chemically.
Yeah. So basically, like exercise helps depression, exercise helps ADHD management, exercise helps with learning and memory retention. Exercise helps with every single thing that your brain does, because when you exercise, your brain produces BDNF, which is brain-derived neurotrophic factor, which basically in the book he describes as Miracle-Gro for your brain. It's helping your brain form new connections. It's helping your brain reinforce old connections, positive connections, and it's really putting yourself in a state where your brain is going to function optimally, right? And I can definitely say it's been a huge piece for myself. I have ADHD. I've been on and off medication for quite a while, And the one of the things that I know and what I tell other people with ADHD is like until you get your exercise, your sleep, and your nutrition in order, you're not giving yourself the best fighting chance to function optimally, right? And whether you need to use medication or not, like I really don't, doesn't matter. Like I do still take my medication sometimes, like 'cause I'll have those days that are just like I need it. Um, but I've also been off of it for like multiple years where I didn't use it, and I basically was using a combination of like cold immersion. I'd exercise, cardiovascular exercise has the best effect. Getting 8 hours of sleep a night or 7.5, and just eating whole foods, nutritious foods. Like your brain is gonna be better. And the reason that people's ADHD I think gets so bad is because they're smoking, they're drinking, they're eating like garbage, they're not sleeping, and your brain is just already messed up after that, right? So there's so many underlying issues there. I can say for myself though, it's like I was one of I have 3 younger siblings, so I have a younger brother, another younger brother, and a younger sister, and I was the only one of the 3 that was really overweight when I was younger. And I didn't learn until I was older that when you have ADHD, you are 50% more likely to be overweight or obese because you're going to be seeking dopamine from food.
Impulsive.
And like I didn't put those two together till later in life when, I was diagnosed, and I was like, oh, that makes so much sense why, I did binge eat when I was younger, and why I had such bad anger issues when I was younger and couldn't focus. I smoked a lot of weed when I was younger, and that actually, I tell everybody, like, I don't know if I would have finished high school without weed. It helped me, man. It helped me chill out. It helped me focus. I still got fantastic grades. I still played on the rugby team. I was active. But I had a shift when I was about 13 where that's when I started lifting weights, because I was like, I'm so sick and tired of being the fat friend of the group. I'm so sick and tired of being overweight, not liking what I look in the mirror. That's the time where you start like being interested in women as well. Or guys if you're shooting the other way, right? But that's when you're sexually kind of, becoming more active, and then it's like I didn't like what I saw in the mirror, so I was like that's when I started going to the gym, because I was like, I need to deal with this. And
it's how we all get into it.
Yeah,
man. That's the exact same story. When I was like 13, I was like, I want to, I won't be the guy with 6-pack, because I could never even envision myself like that.
Yeah.
But I was like, I'll have massive arms. That was at 13. Like, that was like, I'm doing push-ups and curls.
Pipes, baby.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I had one girl compliment me in grade 8. She was like, you have nice arms. And after that, I was like, I'm going to have the biggest fucking biceps.
Yeah.
Dude. Like,
grab your tickets.
Yes.
Grab your tickets, people. It's gun show time, baby.
Yes.
Yeah, no, that's awesome. Yeah, I know that. And that was me too. Like, I remember the mindset when I started exercising as a younger kid, looking in the mirror and being like, I don't think I'll ever be in good shape. I don't think I'll ever be fit, but I'll be damned if I'm not going to try, right? And I started working out like maybe 3 days a week, lifting weights, basic bodybuilding style program. Similar time, I started playing rugby. And that actually helped a lot, right? Just being able to be physical, let out some aggression. There's tons of running in rugby, so that was my cardiovascular work. And by the time I was in grade 12, I was pretty ripped. Like, I was jacked. I don't have that many pictures from when I was younger, because I think I deleted a lot of the ones where I was fat, unfortunately. But I'm sure my parents have some. But there's one picture of me in grade 12 where I'm like holding like an axe in a piece of wood. Like, I grew up on a farm property, and I'd put a piece of wood into an axe, and my arms, dude, are just like just shredded. And like, I had visible abs, and I was like tan because I was always outside playing rugby. And that transformation of being like, I was like the fat friend, to being like, I'm super in probably better shape than most other people in my grade was nuts. And then I went on to play like Team British Columbia Rugby. I played for Team UVic for a bit of the year. That's before I got a really bad injury. I actually stopped playing partway through my first year because of my shoulder injury and my neck injury, car crash, all this stuff that happened. So after that, that's when I got into powerlifting and heavy lifting, because that was my, I did all the rehab stuff for that, came back, and then I just got addicted to the gym. And again, because during that time I regained, like, so I got that injury, I stopped playing rugby, I was in university, was partying like an animal, smoking weed every day, drinking multiple days a week, eating pizza, this and that. And the next, I gained 60 pounds in my first year of university.
Yeah, no doubt.
I had the freshman 60, not the freshman 15. And so that was my second time being like, okay, I need to get back into fitness, like full stop again, and, you know, focus on my nutrition, get back into things. And it was after I dropped out of university, that's when I actually became a trainer. So because I was like, okay, I've done this a couple times. I know that this is something I can help other people with. I enjoy this lifestyle. I enjoy the idea of like helping people with their fitness. You know, I grew up with my dad being a personal trainer, so it was kind of seemed like the logical thing to do. And yeah, now it's been like 8 years that I've been doing it and haven't looked back. So
yeah, it's crazy when we talk about. I mean, we were talking about posture earlier, and then we were talking about like attention or impulsiveness, anger issues, ADHD. I think so many times, like, I've thought about those types of things, and I think you might have said this, like, one of the first things you said, but one of the things I've been thinking about recently is how, like, inhuman-like, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Our lives are, like, how detached we are from how we're supposed to be, or
from nature.
I shouldn't say how we're supposed to be, but how we've been for the longest recorded history.
Yes.
You know,
100%.
like, we're so far from that people are like, it's almost like weird to think, like, when you see someone that's like, oh, this person actually, like, follows through with what they plan for themselves. They have some discipline. They can focus on one thing for a long time. Like, it's like, you know, that's how we're actually supposed to be. Like, that's, it's like our lives have pulled us so far from that we're like, when we see what we're supposed to be, it seems like an anomaly.
I think that comes back to kind of the system, so to speak. I don't want to get, conspiratorial here, but the system that we live in, the society that we live in, is not natural.
I can swap your hat for the tinfoil if you want.
Yeah, that's okay. Let's do it up.
Yeah.
No, but the society that we live in is not natural whatsoever. Mm-hmm. We are not supposed to be sitting down for 8 hours a day. We're not supposed to be sitting in front of screens for 8 hours to more a day because people were watching Netflix.
Dude,
we're meant to move. We're meant to like use our bodies. We're meant to have some time where there's nothingness, right? Where we're not actually stimulated, which is like, cell phones are very stimulating, video games are stimulating, movies are stimulating. We're meant to have downtime where we're bored, so to speak. And that's what I was telling you with the AI stuff earlier. This is not part of the podcast. We were just chatting about it earlier, but with AI, it's part of the advancement of society in terms of automation. We need to do things faster. We need to get more work done in a shorter amount of time. And it's like, but why? Where does that get us? Mm-hmm. Because at a certain point, like, yeah, you can do things faster and faster and faster and faster, or more efficiently and more efficiently. But I think then the humanness gets lost in that, right? You become like, they're treating people as more machines and more, just to get things done, or like, you need to hustle harder, you need to do this. Yeah. Whereas, that's not really what life's about necessarily, right? But that is like a byproduct of kind of the society we live in, is that we are told that we need to be doing more and we need to be doing things faster and we need to be more ahead of where we are now than where you are, right? So, I mean, at the end of the day, I agree. Like, there's a whole bunch of issues there in terms of like the way that we live our lives currently that doesn't really match up with, I guess the way that life should be, quote unquote, which, I mean, that's open for discussion as well, but.
Yeah. I mean, even just like, thinking about this is something that's just been running through my head as we've been talking. Is like, we think about the most productive we can use men for this like argument or example.
Yeah.
But like the most productive man would be like who can produce. Like if you were to think like evolutionarily or adaptative, like the type of like when we think about rudimentary, like what is a man supposed to do? Produce food, keep you safe, that kind of shit, right?
Yeah.
And if you were to think about like the most effective version of that would be like, for example, getting food. We think of like one of the main ways that humans obviously can outsmart better animals that are faster and stronger, etc., is like we have that endurance factor. Like you see like the tribes where like they just outrun their fucking, we'll just run longer than you. You might be faster, but
Yeah.
we'll just keep chasing you till you're exhausted and then we'll kill you and get you.
Yeah.
Like there's that style of hunting. And then there's the style of hunting that's like most popular now where it's like I'm either going to wait and sit in a tree and wait and watch, or I'm fishing and I'm just sitting and waiting. And like the idea of like the patient man wins. Like the guy who can sit and focus on one boring ass task, like sitting in a tree with a bow and arrow or a spear and waiting for something to come by and then locking on and patiently waiting for the right moment,
shot,
the right angle, the right, it's like the patient man, the guy who can sit and focus, like.
Yeah, no, 100%. And that's, I think,
but we're told the lie, like you said, like
we're talking about hunting, we're talking about this, that, and the next thing. We can talk about business too, but that's the other thing. I always tell people, especially newer trainers, because I get a lot of trainers reaching out to me being like, hey man, like you've been in business now, or like, the business for like 8 years helping people. Obviously I worked for other corporations first.
But you're not now.
But I'm not now. But they're like, oh, like what does that look like? How do you do it? I'm like, it's honestly just time, man. Time in the market. Like people overestimate what they can do in a year, but they underestimate what they can do in 5, right? And more time is going to give you more experience. It's going to give you the confidence to go out there and do that. But I think that there's so many people, especially if we talk about social media nowadays, that are saying like, I'll help you build a 6-figure business in 1 year, or like I'll help you like hit $1 million and like whatever, like through e-commerce or this or this or this. It doesn't matter what your business is, it's gonna take time to build it, right?
Oh, yeah.
And it's gonna take a lot of work, right? It's not just like an overnight thing.
Yeah.
So, and most people, when it's like overnight, it's because they did a bunch of work beforehand. So like even for me, like I had a business in Victoria. I moved to Vancouver during the pandemic. I was working for Fitness World again, but my first full year of business as a business owner was last year, and I did hit 6 figures in my business. That's not my income, but my business generated 6 figures. But that's because I already had all the previous experience, and because I'd already run a business. Like I knew what to do and how to get it started up quickly, right?
Yeah, you had the infrastructure.
I had the infrastructure already, and like I had the experience. So it wasn't like, oh, like I'm just like starting a business brand new. It's like, no, I ran one in Victoria. I've been a personal training sales manager. I have like 3 years experience doing that. Like it's not like an overnight thing. It's like I've been in the industry for 8 years, right? And I knew what I was. I didn't leave my previous job until I was confident I could build another business and have it be successful, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So it's. That's what I always tell people. It's like it's experience. I've paid for different coaches, business coaching. I've sunk a lot of money into learning and getting better. That's the other thing, right? Just make sure you keep investing in yourself. You hear that from the gurus all the time, but it is. It's like you got to pay other people that are farther ahead of you. Yeah, whether that's a BJJ coach, whether that's a Muay Thai coach, whether that's a business coach, personal trainer to get you fit. You are paying for somebody to help you get somewhere where they are, where you're not, right?
Yeah.
So I think that's crucial as well.
Ooh. I also think like there's a lot of people like especially I don't know. There's this like disgusting part of social media that's like enticing people to be like this like I want to say like this alpha hustler entrepreneur.
Yeah.
And there's this like kind of culture of like guys that like kind of consider themselves to be like that. And I was like thinking about it because I know a lot of people our age that kind of maybe got into the trades and now they're like, oh, I don't really want to do, they want to wear like, they want to be a boss of something and manage businesses and run businesses, but they don't really have like any like skill set or craft or trade. And I think
Yeah.
that it's so, like our parents' generation was so simple. Like when you think about like the way that your dad started his business is probably similar to the way that my dad started his. Is like he had a career,
Yep.
and then he got laid off from that job and started doing like a little bit of side work, and then that side work expanded until he became so good at his trade that he could train someone else to do it, and then
Yeah.
he didn't have to do it. He just had to manage those people doing it. And it's like you can only run the business if you know the business.
Yeah. I mean,
Right? Like, you know what I mean? Like,
I do. Yeah. I think my dad's story is a little different because, I mean, he was working a full-time job as a pastor at a church, actually. And then he left because basically what happened was like they had, 4 kids, myself, my brothers, and my sister. And my parents wanted to spend more time with the kids. They were always out of the house. We had like a babysitter coming in all the time. So, and my dad had helped other people get fit. He, had done working out his whole life. And we had a 2-door garage in our backyard that he converted to a gym. And I think actually that was the very first private personal training studio in Abbotsford. This is like over 20 years ago now. And I remember he said he's like, yeah, I need to change something. I need to like build a better life where I can spend time with my kids and I'm not getting to watch them like grow up the way I want to. And I also want to make more money. And I remember he told me the story of the time he had somebody first came and bought like a big package and wrote him a check for like $3,000. And he was like, holy shit, this is happening. Like,
yeah.
I can make this work. Right. And then just kept expanding the business, growing the clientele base. We ended up actually moving out to Bradner, which is where my grandparents used to live. And
Where's that?
It's near Aldergrove, between Aldergrove and Langley. So it's
Okay.
it's farmland.
Yeah. No, I know I know.
So my grandparents owned a 10-acre property. They got too old. They were in their 90s. They couldn't take care of it anymore. We moved out there, and then they run out the gym, the barn, into a gym, and that's where they still live right now. So we have like a full functional barn gym out there, and yeah, it's.
Is there like? I'll talk to you about that after.
Okay. Yeah.
I have a funny.
Yeah. Do you mind if I take a quick washroom break here?
Yeah. No worries. We'll take a little pee break. Hold up. I'm gonna pour some coffee.
All right.
Pee break done.
And we're back.
We're good to go. I completely lost where we were at, but
I think we were talking about your dad's business and then my dad's business,
right?
And we were talking about the barn gym, and then
that property,
property. But yeah, I mean, I think everybody's business story is a little bit different why they start it, but at the end of the day, I think it comes back to it's either like a side hustle that becomes bigger, or it's like they want more freedom, more free time, more time for their family. Or they don't want to be locked into like a low income job that just pays them for a 9 to 5 and there's no room for growth, right? So I mean, there's a million and one reasons, but I think usually the smartest way to go about it is it's usually people that have a side hustle, and then when that side hustle gets so big that it overshadows their main job, they'll you know.
Well, I guess I remember now why I brought that up. The reason I thought about it was like the idea behind it is like you can't avoid doing the fucking grunt work. Like there's always going to be like, I want to do this business. Well, there's going to be aspects of that business that you don't like doing. Like I'm sure
100%.
You have to do bookkeeping. I'm sure that you have to do a bunch of programming or like fucking tedious stuff. Like I'm sure when you wanted to become a trainer, you didn't become a trainer to be like, oh, I can't wait to spend 3 hours of my day looking at a screen fucking programming shit. Like the same way that I like when I got into podcasting, I didn't think about the editing. When I got into construction, I didn't think about the driving fucking all around Vancouver picking up materials.
There's always those pieces, right?
Like I didn't become a carpenter because I'm passionate about sanding lumber. Like it's like there's shit that you're gonna have to do that it's like, oh, I didn't think of this and I don't like doing it. But it's like, yeah, I'm willing to deal with that because there's all these other aspects that I actually love about my job.
100%. Yeah, no, and that's the way it is, right? There's going to be parts of any income source or any job that
or anything you do. Like,
anything
even
you
jujitsu,
do.
there's things I'm like, I don't like doing that. I don't want to learn that. But it's like, well, you kind of gotta know because you're gonna face people that know how to do that and like doing that technique. Like,
Yeah. No, exactly. It's that classic. I know this quote's going around a lot lately, but it's like the magic of, you know,
what you want is where you don't want to look. Or
yeah,
something
it's like
that.
it's in the work that you don't want to do, right? That's the I'm paraphrasing, but you know what I mean. It's
Yeah. No, I get what you mean. Yeah,
it's like people don't want to do the hard things. They just want, and I think that's like the toxic sort of loop of the social media. It's like you hear a lot of this, like on autopilot, done for you,
passive income.
passive income, and it's like no, like nothing like that is going to last. You need to do the hard work in order to understand actually what the business is, right? I mean, yeah, you can try to grow quickly, you can try to do whatever you want, but at the end of the day, like I find that most people that have run businesses that I know that are really successful, there was a couple of really hard years of just hard work and figuring it out and failures and fuck ups and like you can't like that is how you become better in your business, and that's how you then hire people because you're like, hey, this is what I've done. I do think that some of that business coaching and that mentorship stuff is really positive, but I think, like you said before, I think there's a lot of like young guys online that actually have zero skills or whatever, and they're just trying to make a quick buck. So they're like repackaging
most of them,
right? So it's brutal. Yeah.
And when you hear the thing is the people that do it right are like literal like they're life-changing people. The
Yeah.
people that do it wrong, I feel like are scum. Like it actually makes me so infuriated because it really
Yeah.
upsets me because I just feel like you can just tell.
It's like a snake oil salesman, basically, right?
Oh yeah. Oh, that's a perfect way to put it. That's way better than
Oversell, underdeliver, right?
or just lie. Like they're
Or
just
just lie.
literally lying.
Yeah.
Like they're actually legitimately just using people. Like full on usury. Like I want to profit off of your work.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's like, dude, there is no dignity in that whatsoever in my eyes.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing with marketing, right? Like marketing is in and of itself, like a lot of it is generally like
Parasitic.
A lie, yeah.
That's like one of the best ways
it's generally
to say
a lie, right? Unless you actually have, and that's the thing, right? And that's where the grunt work comes in, because unless you have a product that's so good that can actually back up the talk, like a lot of people, they just have the talk and no actual good product, right? And that's the issue.
Yeah.
So
well, and even just like, I'm not even like I know this sounds kind of like anti-capitalist, anti-entrepreneurial. It's actually the opposite. Like it's like those are the people that hinder advancement in my eyes. Do you know what I mean? Like it's like I like there is nothing more noble than starting a business and creating opportunity for people. Like it is a horrible sacrifice that is going to cause you pain. You're going to lose a lot of other areas in your life, but you're going to change lives and you're going to create opportunities for other families.
Yeah, so and I'll take that a step farther, or not a step farther, but I'll kind of relate it back to that book that I was reading earlier today. He was talking about the people that he's helped build coaching businesses. So there was one guy that was a pastor, and as a pastor, you were paid a very low income to basically give people life advice. Like at the end of the day, that's what it is. Like you're repackaging messaging from the Bible as like life lessons and life advice. But he had been doing that for years and years and years. So to switch over to life coaching was he felt bad actually charging people. So he was doing it for free for so long. But then he had a lot of value to give because he was already really skilled at it. There was another girl that started a garden in her backyard, and then her friends started asking her about it, and she would just help people for free. She would go over to their house, she would help them build their garden, be like, you should put this here, water this way. And then eventually she got to the point where it's like, I could actually start a business off of this, and I'll start charging people for it because I know that there is value behind it, right? So and it's a very nuanced conversation because I think that some of those guys they maybe do have some value to give to some other people. Like maybe they're a few steps ahead and they can give a little bit of value. But I think there's such a hard push right now for like high ticket and like charging like a high number of dollars for, XYZ. So, I've talked to lots of people actually that have done multiple different like business coachings or multiple different mentors, and like some of them will be like, honestly, this one was useless, but then I found this one that was like blew it out of the water, and like I got way more value for the price that I paid, right? And yeah, you're going to see that time and time again, right? It's like, are you a business that oversells and underdelivers, or are you somebody that says what you're going to do and then over delivers on that promise, right?
Yeah,
Because I think that is what's going to build you a good business any day of the week. Is if you get people good results, if people like you as a person, they like working with you, you follow through on what you say you're going to do. That's what builds good reputation, and reputation isn't built overnight. Reputation is built over a long span of time. And that's the other piece, right? It's like, are you coming into the market with somebody that has zero reputation because, you haven't done anything? And that is one of the things that like even, Alex Ramosi says is like, if you're new to it, offer your services for free so that you can build up a repertoire of, building the skill, building the, having some testimonials, having this, having that, right? Or go and work for another company that does that and learn the ropes and then go do it, right? So, you can't escape, like you said, coming back to your point, you can't escape doing that work.
Yeah.
You can't escape learning the skill or doing the thing. Yeah.
It's also different too, I feel like a lot of the time, and this is just kind of like my own weird view on the world, and this is something I like. Again, I was talking about this on like the hike I was on this morning with my buddies, and I was thinking about it like, there's nothing wrong with like having a mentor, having like a coach, like you said, like for you to say like, hey, I've built this business, we hit a 6-figure revenue, like that's like, okay, you are at that point, you can start to show people like, hey, I can teach you how to, get to at least this stage, like it's like, I know how to scale a business to 6 figures. So I can obviously try and give you advice to scale your business to 6 figures. That makes sense because you own a business that is generating a certain amount of revenue. You know what I mean? Like that is like a legitimate, like if someone were to be like, hey, I'm going to use Judah as a coach. Well, who's Judah? Well, Judah's this guy who runs a business that has revenues over 6 figures. Like that is, okay, that sounds like a reputable business coach. He owns a business.
Yeah. I'm not a business coach, but
but do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean. Yeah.
I'm talking about the types of people that are like business coaches, and you're like, well, what's your business? And they're like, well, business coaching. And you're like, well, what do you do for your thing?
Yeah.
And then you like, you hear about these companies that like sell like things, and you're like, well, what do you do? And they're like, well, we teach people to sell other things, like those Amway things and like pyramid schemes like the WFGs and like the life insurance.
Yeah,
and
you could be an independent business owner yourself.
And they ask, well, what's the difference between a pyramid scheme and a legitimate business? And like, I don't know what the actual definition is, but like the idea that I have is like, if most of your revenue is from recruiting and training to recruit other people, like that's kind of a pyramid scheme. Whereas like if like your revenue is from like a product or a service, and then you also have like some side revenue from recruit, do you know what I mean? Like I just have this feeling like, but everyone in our generation, this is where I'm thinking, everyone in our generation wants to sell shit and wants to do things. Nobody wants to make the shit. So in like 15 years from now, I just see an economy of people all yelling at each other, use this promo code to buy this so I can make $15 off that. And then the next guy's like, okay, I'll buy your protein powder with your promo code if you buy your pillow with my pillow promo code. And like, if you buy that, then I'll buy your Spotify link. Like, like we're all just going to be selling different things. Like, and it's like nobody's...
Yeah, that's the influencer economy, right?
Nobody's adding to society or making things beautiful or making the world better anymore, Like...
I don't know if that's necessarily true because I do follow like a lot of people that just on this is the cool there's the dark side of social media, there's also the positive side. So I think there's a lot of people that are like super talented artists on TikTok or Instagram that are like making these amazing, like I spent 80 hours, like 150 hours drawing this like pencil drawing or this like, and it's like he did that for no other reason that he just wanted to draw something amazing, you know?
Yeah.
So
That's beautiful. That is the
100%.
purpose.
That is that's creativity, right? But so I just I think there is going to be like there's always going to be that, right? There's always going to be somebody trying to sell you something.
Do you see like the dystopian thing I'm talking about?
I do see what you're talking about though. Of like, hey, like
I ordered a.
it's
like,
the
I'll come pick you up.
It's
You
the social
buy my
credit.
Uber.
Yeah. You buy my thing, or I'm going to give you a 1-star review and like social credit system.
Yes.
Yeah, but no, I definitely get where you're going with that. I know people that are in those kinds of businesses like Amway, Monet, It Works, like all of those things. And I think at the end of the day,
Canada
Drives, right?
Sorry to just shit on everybody.
I mean, at the end of the day, people are
making shit on how people make their money. But
people make money in different ways, right? And like the thing is though, like I know like one of my dad's previous clients, like I actually did the Amway thing. I didn't actually do it. I like signed up for it because
we've all been in the
pitch we've all been in a pitch, right?
Yeah.
But so one of my dad's clients, like super successful, like I want to say like preaching on $1 million a year through that stuff, but they've been doing it for 25 years, right? So like that's the whole thing is they got in early-ish, right? They've been building it for years and years and years. They have like tons of people underneath them, and then it's actually very, very profitable. But somebody's always going to be top of the ladder. Somebody's always going to be bottom rung, right? That's
yeah. I don't even mind that. Like, there's not the hierarchy.
Yeah.
It just, for some reason, I don't know why, there's something like weird about it when it's like, oh, you don't actually provide any services or products other than just recruiting people and then teaching those people to recruit people.
Yeah. No, I see what you're saying. I think that with say Amway though, they do have products, right? Like they have energy drinks and all this other stuff.
I know.
But at the end of the day, like you could just be that sole person and just sell the products and make money that way. But definitely, like you're saying, it makes more money for you to recruit and train people on how to recruit others and build a business for themselves, right? Like I was once taught how to build a business. Now I'm going to teach you how to build a business, selling these same products and then getting people underneath you, right? That's the whole pyramid scheme.
That's the part that it's like an improper bill of good. Like it's like if you were to invoice them of like, you're paying me to help you do X, Y, and Z. I feel like it's a different thing than what and I don't know. I've just seen too many of those things where you dive into the reports of where the finances actually come from, and you're like, oh, you're a supplement business, but 80% of your revenue is from like recruiting people to sell like some third party thing.
Yeah, no.
And it's like, what? Are you a supplement business or are you some recruiting business? Like what?
Yeah, and
are we talking about?
It gets shady too, man. There was another one that my aunt was involved with for a bit called Mona V, and then a bunch of stuff came out about that one. It was like on Oprah and stuff, and
whoa,
like and then like I don't know, it like
big O, eh?
It was just like there was some shady stuff happening there for sure. In terms of like, it's the same thing, right? Some people made a ton of money, and then it all came crashing down, and they got out, and some people got screwed, and I don't know. It is what it is, but
it's also the irritating thing about it, I guess, is that there is people that will win the game, and it's really frustrating to see people like say like for yourself who take a craft. You're like, I'm gonna change people's lives. I'm gonna provide a service where I help them eat better, I help them move better, I help them be more comfortable, I help them perform better at their job, I help them, leave the house feeling okay in their own skin.
Yeah.
Like there's an actual tangible result
yes.
from the service rendered. Or like someone that is an artist, someone making something beautiful, someone that paints the fucking lines on the road is making society better. Anybody that's adding to
Adding value.
And
yeah.
then there's some fucking lazy geek who's just sitting at his fucking computer who tricks someone else into fucking, if you buy Bitcoin through my exchange, then blah, blah, blah. And they're just parasitically making money off of tricking other people. It's like, I hate that.
This makes me, so I remember now the Monavie thing. So what happened was it was like a bottle of like, like acai berry blend, like this juice. And then they made these bulk.
Like a smoothie blend?
Like it was like it looked like a wine bottle, and it was like $80 for a bottle, and it was supposed to be this fucking health rejuvenating juice. And they made like all these crazy bold claims, like cures cancer, and
I like that. That's actually good.
and this and this and
That's
this.
good. That's actually, never mind. I like that. That's good.
But then it came out that it was literally just fruit juice.
Yeah.
And it was literally just, so the marketing was like we go back to marketing, talking about lying in marketing. It was like all a complete lie. It was like
they put like 4 cranberries in.
They were
antioxidant.
basically charging people $80 for a bottle of grape juice and saying it was gonna like cure all their ailments. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Snake oil salesman.
Yeah, and it was like, so that's where, like, that's the part where we're talking about we have an issue with it. It's like you're not actually providing anything to society. You're just a leech. You're just sucking people dry for this false product that you're selling that doesn't actually do anything.
Yeah. Well, I mean, and that is like, that is a perfect example of that, where it's like they'll take like, buy a bottle of cranberry juice and then sell it as like an antioxidant supplement or some shit. Like they'll like dehydrate
Crazy,
cranberry juice and then be like powder it and be like, this is the greatest supplement for antioxidants. Like, in fact, Judah, I have a lot of it and it's dirt cheap because I got a hookup. And you don't need to worry about where I got it. But you know what? If you buy my supply for $200, it's an $800 supply. But if you buy it for $200, I'll show you how to sell it for $600. You get where I'm coming from? But if you sell it to someone else, then you could teach them how to sell it for $800 and pocket that $200 yourself. And I'm making $200, you're making $200, and someone gets a bottle of antioxidants.
Yeah, there you go.
Tell me how that, dude. And if you teach them how to sell it for $1,000, they make $200. You make $200. You helped someone make $200, and Bob's your uncle. We just made it like that's what I'm talking about.
We just made some money.
You get what I'm saying? Like that's what I'm talking about. It's like a trickle down of like, we're actually all just siphoning money from one source, and it's the end. Like you're not benefiting your consumer. You're just parasitically
crazy. And a lot of those products too are just BS products that don't actually have any effect, right? Like I don't know, like I've seen so many of them where I'm like, this is not a real product. Like this doesn't do anything, right? Just eat real food. You know, like you don't need this powdered this. You actually just need to eat more vegetables and more meat and more real food and stop thinking that all your problems are going to be solved by a magical powdered, right?
Eat a mango. Get some sunlight.
Yeah.
How about that? Run with a dog.
Mango.
Dude, run it with a dog. You want to be happy, dude?
Pet a dog.
Dude, yes.
Lay with a couple kitties.
Read a book.
Yeah. 100%.
If fights, like fight, have some fun. Be out there. Like, dude.
That's what I'm saying. Like, life doesn't need to be so complicated all the time, right?
Yeah,
I think that, coming back to what we're kind of pushed on from public school system into university is that, you need to produce. You need to be a productive member of society and do something of value and produce. And you need to work hard. You need to do this. I'm all for that. Like, but I think that there needs to be more chats about being purpose driven, right? Like what really like fires you up, because you're not going to produce anything of meaning if you're not fired up and you're not actually have a life's purpose behind you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Those are, the lost souls, so to speak, of people that have no purpose in life. I mean, I've been there. I think I was telling you earlier, like I'm about just over a year and a half sober, and like no alcohol, no substances, and a really big reason for that too is like I had this shift in my mind of like, like where do I want to be in 20 years, and like what is my life's purpose, right? Like what am I here to do? And if it is to help people get fit and healthy, why am I not living that life to the fullest, right? Why am I not emulating what I'm telling people? Because I still worked out, I still was fit, but on the weekends and even during the week, I wasn't necessarily
I think we've all
emulating
been,
that,
yeah,
right?
like
So
that double life feeling.
yeah,
You
and
feel like a
it's
naughty boy. You're like,
yeah, I'm
oh,
a naughty boy.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah. No, I know what you mean. It's fun, but it's also like inside you're conflicted.
it's also terrible for your mental health.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Like there was so many times drinking where I would look at myself in the mirror when I was hammered drunk and being like, why did I do this again? Like, why am I here right now?
Oh yeah.
I said I was going to go out for 2 drinks and I got blackout. I didn't usually black out. I could usually drink and drink and drink and I would still be there, but I would get hammered, like, 14 beers, 15 beers, and just, you know, hammered drunk. And I'd have that conversation with myself of like, why am I doing this? I know it's not good for me. I know that, nothing really good comes of this. Like the good times were maybe like 5-6 hours ago when I was out with my buddies, and now it's like you're just left alone with your inebriated self,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And it's
You're
like,
just sweating in a fucking
what am I
bathroom at this
doing?
point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
Been there.
yeah, it's crazy, man. So, and at the end of the day, like that's what I tell people, even with fitness. It's like you won't go really anywhere far with fitness, and really unless you really understand your why, right?
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you want to lose body fat, but why? Yeah, you want to gain muscle, but why? You want to get fit, but why? Like,
Yeah.
really ask yourself those questions. Like, it's going to come back to confidence. It's going to come back to, I want to be able to play with the kids. I want to live a longer life. I want to live an easier life that I'm not always, lugging around an extra 80 pounds on my body and get winded going upstairs, or, my belly hangs over my dick. I can't tie my shoelaces. There's so many like deeper rooted things.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah.
but people will come and be like, oh, I want to lose some weight. But I'm like,
Oh
there's
yeah.
so much more going on than just that.
Yeah.
It's like, it goes deep.
Oh yeah.
It's a fundamental, like, you want to feel healthy and capable, right?
Yeah.
I think that's usually what it comes down to. You want to be healthy, capable. Sexual attraction is always going to be a factor too, like for men or for women. They want to be able to attract a partner. That 100%, I stand by that. That is 100% one of the biggest motivations for people.
Inarguable.
It's not. No, it's inarguable.
Yeah.
So, anybody that wants to say otherwise, you're wrong.
You're a fucking liar.
Yeah, it's just that is innate human nature.
Yes.
So, and I had an old manager that would always say this. He's like, people want one of 3 things. They either want to have more sex, make more money, or feel healthier and live with less pain.
Yeah.
That's basically it, right? It's like if you sum fitness and health down to a couple of nodes, it's like they want to be more successful in what they do for work or have a purpose. They want to have more sex or be able to attract a life partner, right?
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times I've had a lot of those guys that are like, I'm not dating anybody right now. I went through a breakup or whatever. I want to get back in shape. Like that's a classic story, as old as time.
Oh, yeah.
The guy that went through the breakup and then is hitting the gym because I need to get in shape.
Yeah.
Like, ask any guy in the gym. He's been there 100%.
Fuck yeah. Yeah.
And then the other piece is like, I don't want to feel like shit all the time. I want to be able to move with ease. I want to not be in pain all the time. And movement is the body's natural painkiller. When you exercise, you get endorphins. That is the body's natural painkiller. And also the body's natural, like, happy pill.
Yeah.
Like, talk to any runner about the runner's high. Talk to anybody that's worked out a long time and you feel good after.
Oh yeah.
Right? It releases good chemicals in your body. It has good chemical changes. It has positive changes throughout the rest of your day. So,
Yeah. Dude, I align with that 100%. I think as above, so below. Like anything you do in life, like fitness, I can think about, again, that's what I was saying earlier, is like jujitsu gives me a purpose to work out. Like for me,
For
like
sure.
personally, I find that it helps me a lot with. There's a million and one things, right? But for me, anxiety and stress management. Like I said, like the anxiety I get for competition, but also just in sparring when you have someone's arm around your throat, like you're like, holy shit. But then there's also a moment where you realize like, well, I'm still conscious. I'm still awake. I'm still in this. There might be something I can do to maybe mitigate this. What's the first thing I need to do? Focus on my breath. Okay, calm my breath down, save all the oxygen that I have, like calm my mind, get to my thought. Okay, I got my breath, relax my muscles. Okay, think about where do I need to be focused on flexing? Like all these little micro thoughts and breakdowns of like
So interesting.
high stress situation, and then be able to think as clearly as you can without, once you deviate from that thought process, you're out. Like it's, but any purpose. Like if you think about, like we're talking about, you start a personal training business, you start in construction, you start anything, there's going to be the first day you have where you're like, why the fuck am I doing this? This sucks. Like I'm digging a trench, or I'm fucking, I'm on my 111th cold call or email, and nobody wants to train right now. Nobody wants to, I'm trying to, and you have those days, and it's like, you hear the cliche, like he who has a why can overcome any how or any whatever it is, right?
Yeah.
And I think that all of us do have purpose. Like I think that all of us, and like I said, like I come from the belief, like if you've been raised, like you said, your dad is a pastor, I'm sure you've heard the book of Genesis, like the creation story, and it was good. God made this and it was good. God made the, and you also hear we're made in God's image. So it's obviously we're meant to build good things and make good things and make the things around us better and make them beautiful and make them good. And I think that all of us have like an avenue of like, oh, you made something beautiful. Like whether that is like, a home, like you physically build something, or you make, a business where you're supporting, you like you said, you have someone's income now. Like you've built something where you're now supporting another person's household. Like that's something built. That is a build.
Yeah. Yeah, and I mean that's what I've always, like, my vision, right? Like because I've been in personal training for a long time, and it's the classic, like, oh, if you're not going to build your own thing, like you're going to work building somebody else's. And
there's no shame in that.
There's no shame in that. No, like like I know lots of my friends that work for businesses and they do good work and they love what they do, and and not everybody's meant to be a business owner. I'll say that too. Not everybody's meant to be a business owner. Otherwise, there would be zero businesses.
Exactly.
Right? Or there would be no businesses. There'd be a bunch of sole proprietors
selling things, like I said earlier.
Yeah, but
like we'd all just be selling our own thing.
And that's the difference between a sole proprietorship and a business. Is a business, you need to have those guiding principles. Like for myself, it's like I want to help as many people in the world, like eventually millions. Like that's why I'm starting the YouTube. That's why, I want to do more online coaching stuff. I still definitely want to I love training people in person, but I've seen the positive benefits of strength training in my own life and in all my clients' lives. So I want to help as many people get access to strength training as possible to improve their quality of life. And even if I'm, helping even a few people improve the quality of their lives through strength training, it makes me feel good about what I'm doing. And obviously, I can make some money while doing that too, is a huge plus. But yeah, I've always wanted to provide something of value with my business. And like, I recently went and I was making some marketing materials, and I was literally just taking Google reviews and just putting them on like a yellow background just to share on my Instagram. But I did this 2 days ago, and it had me a chance to go through all my reviews and like read them again. And I was like, this is why I do what I do. Is like
100%.
I think on my Google right now, it's not crazy. I have like 62 5-star reviews.
Holy shit. Dude.
Yeah. And and you read through them, and multiple people are like, Judah changed my life. And they're like paragraphs, dude. Like they're like this long of like, I was like depressed, or I was this, and then like I started working out with him, and not only did he help me with fitness, he helped me like fix my sleep, he helped me fix this, because I do lifestyle coaching too. Like I'm gonna address it holistically. I'm gonna be like, hey, fitness is great, we got to talk about nutrition, we got to talk about your lifestyle, we got to talk about sleep, we got to talk about your mindset and the shit you're doing outside of work, like at
Mhm.
work. It's a functional unit, right? It's not just one thing. It's everything. It has interplay, right? So, but
But at the end of the day, what you're doing is you're literally providing value to people, and they're
yeah,
willing to pay
yeah,
you for it.
100%.
It's like an honest, like,
It's
I see a problem, and I think I can make it better.
yeah,
Like, that is the most beautiful thing that a human can do in my eyes.
and it's life changing, right? For some people, yeah, it's just the fitness. For other people, it literally is like a life changing. Like it changes the pathway of your entire life.
Oh yeah.
And I've seen that multiple times. Like not every client's going to be like that. Like some clients you have, and like yeah, they get in better shape. They really enjoyed the service. Maybe they stick with you for 6 months. I've had clients that I've been with for years though. And like even from Victoria, I still have a couple people that I have as online clients that have been with me for years. And it's because, you know, you do have an impact on their life and they like being able to communicate with you and they enjoy the service, right? So I think that's the other thing too, is like you look at like, okay, what's your client tenure, right? Are people sticking around for like 2-3 months and then piecing out, or are they sticking around for the long haul, right?
Yeah.
I would say my average client sticks with me for at least a year, like
which is huge.
legitimately.
Like a year of work. If you work out like twice a week for a year, from nothing to twice a week for a year,
yeah.
that's like life altering.
And I mean, I'm honest with people too. I'm like, for somebody that's new to fitness, will 3 months get you in better shape? For sure. You're not gonna have the habit and the lifestyle in 3 months.
Yeah.
You can't. It's impossible. You need to really train hard. You need to understand why you're doing it. You need to start working on those pieces. So I sell a 6-month program for my online, and I'm just straight up with people that like, you know, we're gonna do this in 3 phases. There's gonna be first 8-week phase, second 8-week phase, third 8-week phase. They'll get progressively harder. They'll get progressively more intense. We're going to work on more lifestyle habits, but we're going to do it in a way that's manageable, like that you can actually, and everybody starts from a different point, right? That's where, you know, initial assessments come in, because it's like somebody could already be training 3 days a week and going hard and they need to like get to the next level, or somebody might be doing 0 and need to actually start building, right?
Yeah.
And it's going to look very different for both those people, because and their occupations are going to be different, their lifestyle is going to be different. So it is, man. It's holistic, right?
Yeah.
I don't throw that word around like lightly. It's like everything's holistic. You can't just look at one part and say that's the whole thing. It's like, no, like everything connects, right? You get a poor sleep, you're going to want to eat more junk food. You're going to want to, you know, you're probably going to have a bad sleep the next night. Like it's all like, you're not going to work out as hard. You don't have the energy to do things. Like it all affects, same as like you don't exercise, you have less energy, right?
Oh yeah.
So it's like it all has interplay.
Yeah. You know, it's funny. I was thinking about something similar to that recently, where it was like, you know, I don't know if you've ever heard this from any of your clients or from any of your friends or anything, but like this idea, you know, you people that deal with like depression or deal with like mood disorders or anything like that, you tell them like, you know, do some exercise, you'll feel better. And then they're like, come back and they're like, you know, I never got the dopamine rush. I didn't get the endorphins. And it is like so holistic in the sense that like, I think a lot of, and this comes back to like what I've been harping on, where like, we live in a society where our dopamine rushes are from like super highly processed, like high fat, high sugar, perfect combination of sodium, sugar, and fat.
Hyper palatable foods is what they call them. Yeah.
Yeah. And then screens and music and sex and porn and drugs and all these things.
Easy, quick hits that you can get at any time, anywhere.
Easy, quick, and the quantity of dopamine, like the spike that you get is like literally better than any drug.
Yeah. It's called a super stimulus.
Yes.
Yeah.
And then we do things that are naturally supposed to make us feel good, like hug our girlfriends or go for a run or lift some weights. And then we're like, well, I didn't feel good. It's like, well, that's because you fucking, before you went for the run, you fucking smoked a bowl, jerked off, ate some fucking crackers that have some fucking 40 grams of sugar in them and they're protein. You know, like what I mean? Where
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah. You're literally have like dopamine.
it's like a
burn.
crack addict trying to get a sugar rush. It's like, dude, you're gonna need a garbage can full of sugar. Are you kidding?
Yeah, your dopamine receptors are fatigued.
Just fried.
Yeah.
Like-
so, and that's yeah. There's a great. We're going through a change in humanity, right? There's a great documentary. I always tell everybody to watch it. It's free to watch on YouTube. It's called Childhood 2.0.
Oh,
the
dude.
dangers of social media. Have you watched it?
I've heard of it. It's by is it that Stefan
It's by the same guy that did like
social
the social dilemma?
Yeah,
but,
that's Stefan. What's his face? I
but the
can't remember his
social
last name.
dilemma, since it's on Netflix, they don't talk about Netflix as a part of the issue.
Yes,
But
yes.
Netflix is a part of the issue because they have feedback systems. Like suddenly you're watching another episode and you didn't even realize it rolled over into another episode.
Oh yeah.
Right? It's
Yeah,
just
yeah,
like
yeah.
it's built in. So and people will binge watch Netflix. That's another way that people get dopamine. Shows, TV shows,
Yeah.
right? It's like you're living vicariously through these people's
Yeah.
reality.
Yeah.
And I also think people don't understand how much of an effect that has on your brain. You watch like a horror movie or you watch like something super stressful right before bed,
Dude, what about dramas?
and then
or
you're like,
s-
and then you're like, I can't sleep. Well, what did you just watch?
Yeah.
You just watched a war
you
movie.
just watched killing.
Yeah, like
Yeah.
you just watched even like you take like a
Suspense.
Marvel movie. You just watched 2 hours of just nonstop explosions and yelling and
Perfect combination of music that has been scientifically
man.
like made to have the right tempo to get your heart beating at a certain thing to amp you up at a certain moment. Like,
yeah. I just can't sleep. Maybe I'll go on my phone for a bit. And
yeah. Or dude, how about the people that watch like reality shows, or it's like the same as people that like hang out, like, you know, like the person, I don't know very many people that use Twitter or whatever, but you know them because of how rude they are.
I deleted my Twitter a long time ago.
You know what I
Or
mean, though?
What they call X.
Yeah,
these
yeah, yeah.
days,
But like,
yeah.
you know, like people that watch like reality shows, or they spend a lot of time arguing with people online, and then they talk to people and you hear them talk to people and you're like, holy shit, you think that's normal? Like,
Yeah, man. Oh, the people that argue with people online, I honestly don't understand it because it's the fastest path to nowhere. Never will you convince somebody online of anything, right? And it's
Yeah.
always stuff they would never say to a person in person.
oh, but I feel like I feel like now we're getting to the point, because 5 years ago I would have been like, oh, you would never say that to someone in person.
Yeah.
Now you're getting to the point where like I'm
It's
encountering
merging, right?
I'm encountering people where they say things
Wow.
in person where you're like, you've never been punched in the mouth before, have you? Like, that's
Yeah.
insane that you would say that to some. Dude, I was watching an interview the other day. It
Wow.
was the funniest fucking thing ever, dude. It's a Wiz Khalifa interview, and someone asks him like,
I love Wiz Khalifa, dude.
like someone asks him like an absurd question of something stupid,
Yeah.
and he just looks at the guy. He goes, "You're on your phone a lot, aren't you?" And the guy doesn't get what he's like insinuating, like just like how like TikTok Brady is.
Yeah, man.
And then Wiz just looks at him. He's like, "You're on your phone a lot, aren't you?" And just like looks around, like, is this guy even operating in the same reality as me? Like, that's like, I don't know. I don't know if you've experienced that, where like people nowadays, like in traffic, I feel like it, or like in the gym, or maybe just at work, where like people like say things, and you're like, "Yo, where do you get off thinking you can say that?" Like, I'm not gonna do anything. I'm gonna laugh about it, but someone's gonna clobber you, dude. Like,
Yeah, man. I mean, it's a wild world. I mean, I worked in as a fitness manager in a public gym during the pandemic, and that was crazy because you had basically.
I commend you for even doing that.
Oh my!
Man.
It was the crazy. I will
quit
say.
my job. I was like, "Fuck this."
I will say, it was one of the craziest experiences ever because we had to go through the whole initial push, and this was like right after things opened back up because I moved. I went through a breakup
during the lockdown.
I
right?
moved during
Yeah.
lockdown to Vancouver, and I was brand new to the city, so I wasn't going to restart my business from zero. I was like, I need to meet some people, and my buddy had offered me the job. I used to work with him at Good Life, and he'd offered me the job at Fitness World, and dude, that was wild times because you had the mask mandates, you had the vaccine passport,
Yeah.
and then I always told people this. I was like, if you have 100% of people, you had 20% of people that were like super Like they were pro-vaccine, stay 6 feet away from me. Like I don't want to talk to you. Like I don't even want to look at you. And I was always like, why are you in the gym?
Yeah.
If you actually believe that, like why are you here? Where like you're most likely to catch it. Where you're like there
You don't go to a war
there is going to
zone.
be a high volume of people here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't go to a war zone and be like, why are there bullets flying all over the place?
No,
You gotta
100%.
stop shooting guns.
And then 60% of people I would say are just normal people. Like, you know what? They're like, I'll do this because it's the way I get into the gym and I'm just going to have a good workout. I'm going to go home, whatever. They just did their thing. And then you had the 20% of people that were like so vocally anti-COVID. And I would always tell them too, man, it's like, I don't really care like what your beliefs are, but like this is the current policy of the gym and everybody else is, you know, adhering.
Follow it or leave.
Follow it or leave. I mean, you know, whatever your personal beliefs are, like it is what it is, right? We're trying to run a business, and if the cops come here, which the cops came many times.
I saw lots of videos, man.
Yeah, there was fist fights at our gym, man. There was it was wild, right?
Yeah.
And like, you know, I was like, if you really want to get around it, just have the little tag that says you have a health condition or something, and you know we'll leave you alone.
Or
and,
just spend your money elsewhere.
and don't bug other people. Like that was the thing. Some of these people were like aggravating other members and like not wiping their shit down, getting in their face, and like it was like getting like crazy, man. But it was just such a like it really showed people's true colors during that time, like of who like people brought out the worst in people. It really did. It brought out the absolute worst in people.
Yeah.
So
I mean,
it was terrible.
Yeah, I mean, I can say like I was definitely more on the side of the latter, like you explained. Like I wasn't down to do a lot of the things that they were trying to get us to do.
I mean, neither was I. Yeah,
but like at the end of the day, like I never yelled at the guy when I was at the gym. I was just a member. I wasn't working there at the time, but they were like,
I hated wearing a mask.
Yeah, they were
I
like,
despised it. Every chance I could get to take that thing off, I had it off, or I'd wear it under my nose. Even as an employee of the gym, I was like, I hate this thing, but I know I need to wear it to be an employee and make my living. And like, you know what I mean? And I've talked to tons of people that lost their jobs during the pandemic, nurses, like people that didn't like, dude, it was so messed up.
I had one customer kick me out because I just wasn't down to wear a mask, and they were asking me about vaccine stuff, and I was like, look, it's between me and my doctor. Like my medical information has nothing to do with you.
Yeah.
And they were like, then leave my house. I'm like, so be it. I'll go. I have other customers. Like I don't care.
Yeah.
I'm not, you know, I don't like agree. Like I said, I didn't agree with a lot of the stuff, but like when I was going to the gym as a member, they were like, you need to do this to go to our gym. I said, all right, cancel my membership then. I don't care. I'll go somewhere else.
Yeah.
I don't care about changing your mind. I don't care about complaining to other people. It's just, all right, I'll just change where I spend my money.
Yeah.
I'll find somewhere that agrees with my values.
100%, right? And it wasn't that, you know, me and the team were trying to do anything like that. This is literally like government. There was people that would come through the gym and check.
Yep.
Because we were one of the biggest gyms in downtown Vancouver.
We'd
have
health
authorities.
Yep.
We had the cops come tons of times. Like other members would call the cops on other members, and it was just bad. So
yeah, it's completely different with like big commercial gyms like that, especially in the downtown core, because it's like.
But I knew lots of smaller gyms that still stayed open through everything too, and they did what they had to do to survive because it's a small business. And it's like
they took their fines on the
they
chin,
did what they needed to do,
or
right?
they just flew under the radar. I know I personally, you know, can say like I was privy to gyms that had boarded up walls that, you know, their windows had signs over them and they had their doors closed and they were like
100%
private training. And if people wanted to come in and look, they're like, sorry, this is a private studio.
Yeah.
We're doing our own thing.
Yeah. 100%.
You know, like, and, you know, if they were to get fined, there was a gym in Richmond that just took it on the chin. They're like, we'll take the fine every month. We don't care.
Yeah, it is what it is, right?
Like but it is completely different. And like I said earlier, I'm not judging anybody for making any decisions.
No,
or
you couldn't, you can't, because at the end of the day, like
we're all navigating.
People were doing what the best was for them with the information that they were given and that they were learning about on the moment, right?
And hey, I've made mistakes, dude.
Oh, we all have.
You know, like I'm not gonna say
nobody's perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're all human. But
I've been wrong like a lot.
Oh,
you know, like,
yeah, 100%. Like it's easy to do, but there's actually a really good stand-up I recently went to go see with my fiance Joe Coy.
Yeah.
I don't know if you know that
Yeah,
comedian.
yeah, yeah. I'm super into stand-up.
Yeah. So he did one at the. It's on Netflix. It's like live at the LA Forum, and it's literally right after COVID ends, and it's all about like jokes about like, do you guys remember like when the shit actually dropped, and like the first time you went out there with the mask, and it was like, and just like. You're like, what's going on? Am I gonna die? Like, and it's like people didn't really understand what was happening because it all happened so fast. He's like, they just showed a clip of a Chinese guy falling over, and then they came and got him with hazmat suits, like, like
See, dude,
specifically to scare people. Like it's
Yeah.
I don't know, but it that stand up is hilarious. But yeah, either way, you know what? We're out of it now, and we'll see what the future holds. But
Yo, how weird is it? I don't know if you've noticed this or if you feel like this. How weird is it that everyone just pretends like the last 5 years were normal? Have you had that experience where people like completely they like there's like this weird time gap between
there's a weird
2019
time
and
gap,
now?
but I think most people are just like, thank God it's over. Like, I mean, I've met a lot of people that are like, they feel, especially the younger people that were like in high school or like university, they're like, I think I missed out on a couple of really good years of.
Yeah, inarguably you
Yeah,
did.
right? And like,
yeah, you definitely did.
but I will say this, and this is from personal experience. I probably went through that time period in one of the best places in the world to do it, which was Victoria. It's an island. It's not super densely populated. You know, like we had like 1 to 2 cases the entire like time. It was super like
That's how often. That's how many times I got it.
Yeah, it was like it was like whatever, right? And like, and I had literally like because all the gyms closed, and I had this time period where I just wasn't really working. I had some online clients that I was training, but it was like very minimal.
Yeah.
And I would just literally go. It was summertime. It was like March, April that it started up, and it was like really nice. It was spring. It was sunny. I would just go to the park every day, go for a run, work out, like spend time in nature, and that's what I did all day. And I was actually very happy. And I was just like, didn't have to do anything, and I was very like at peace. And I wasn't drinking. I like made sure I was like, okay, well, if this is a virus that's going to affect my immune system, I'm not going to drink. I'm going to eat healthy. I'm going to work out every day. I'm going to give myself the best possible chance of surviving, you know, with good immunity. That's what I did every single day. I would just work out, eat healthy, didn't drink, didn't do drugs, and just felt awesome.
Yeah.
And
Wow, who would have thought?
I mean, and I never really worried about it, but until I actually moved to Vancouver, where it was like people took it a lot more. There was more stuff going on over here,
Yeah.
so people took it a little more seriously. And I was like, oh, it's actually like more of a thing out here.
Well, it's also a denser city.
It's a denser city for sure. Yeah.
And when there's a denser population, in my eyes, people just get more stressed and more anxious. And it's also there's also a increased pressure of like you need to make money and you need to
Oh,
do
that's
this.
Vancouver.
So it's like
I
very high
100% agree with that. Like Vancouver has this like weird sort of, and this is actually a good kind of paradox or a good juxtaposition, so to speak, is we went down to Austin, Texas for a week last month. And no, that was this month. I was there this month.
That's why you came back with a tinfoil hat, man.
No.
No,
Austin's awesome, man. It's such a fun city. I went to like the On It gym. It was super dope. But
oh yeah, I saw you post that picture.
yeah, it was great, man.
Yeah.
But anyways, the thing I noticed immediately there is streets are super clean. Like you don't see. I mean, they passed legislation, I'm pretty sure, a while ago to push homelessness out of the city, but streets are clean. People are just like, I'm not even joking, way more friendly down there than Vancouver. I feel like you walk down the streets of Vancouver, people are looking at the ground, they got their headphones in, people are speeding somewhere, they're in a rush, they don't want to look at you, they don't want to smile at you. It's like, it's very like, Vancouver's like got that pace to it where it's like people are like doing their own thing, and it's not like a chill kind of relaxed city. It's like there's that tension behind it, kind of.
Yeah.
Whereas Austin, I felt it's like very laid back. You go into any store, any restaurant, and the greeting you get was just like, it was eerie to me how nice they were being. I was like, this is kind of weird almost. Like I would go into think about like a Freshie, they have like different ones down there, like Sweet Green or Cava. Is the name of the businesses, and you go in there and they're like, "Hey y'all, like how you doing?" Like, "Oh man, awesome tattoos!" Like you guys look like you're having a great day. Like they're being like so upbeat and
You do the accent well, dude.
Yeah, I was there for a week,
That's
man.
kind of
cool. Hey y'all,
Are you a Texan, dude?
No, I'm not. But I do love their accent though. And then I actually had the front desk girl at the Onnit gym was like you sound like one of those hockey players. Like, I love your accent. That's like, I'm from Canada. And like, I could definitely dial it up if you want.
That's hilarious. Dude, I'm teaching. So I told you I just hired a Persian dude.
Yeah.
And we were joking about, how he's like starting to pick up my slang already.
Oh yeah.
And I told him, I'm like,
oh,
bro,
fuck yeah, buddy.
Oh, dude, I just told him, I'm like, you know what you gotta do? Start saying, I'm like, say this to each of our, like, the different guys you work with and see what they say. And I just told him, I'm like, just hit him with a little, hell yeah, brother.
Hell yeah, brother.
Dude, it is so fucking funny.
Yeah.
It's so good, man.
No, that's great.
That's fucking awesome.
And it's you don't realize, like, I've traveled to quite a few different places, like Australia, Thailand, the UK. And you don't realize you have an accent till you go somewhere else, and then they're like, "Damn, like your accent is like thick, or like you got a big accent." It's like, what the fuck you talking about, bud? Like, let's.
Yeah. Hey, bud, what you mean there? I don't even know. I think it's just
you could
like,
definitely dial it up. Like, there's certain dialects, like, and certain words that we obviously use. I think every country does. Like, if we're talking about our change, we got like loonies and toonies. Yeah. The one that I realized that a lot of like Albertans and even BC people say is like, "Oh, for sure, bud." Like, "Oh, for sure, buddy." Like that's.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
I think
that's a classic.
I think one of the funniest Canadian things that we do that I think a lot of people pick up on when you're not Canadian is like the positive, negative.
Oh yeah, no, bud. Yeah.
Oh yeah, no.
I always say that.
It's like the positive, negative. Like, no, yeah.
Yeah,
no,
yeah.
No, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's like,
I do that all the time.
And wait, was it no or yeah? Like,
yeah. Well, if you say like, no, yeah.
Oh, I know. I know it.
Yeah, you know.
One of my buddies, my buddy has a 1.5-year-old kid.
Yeah,
he'll be like 2 this summer, and he like so a lot of the time you'll be like, hey, do you want to do this? Do you want to do that? And his responses are okay or no okay. Like it's like it's either okay or it's not
a positive
okay.
and a negative combined. I love that though. I do say a lot. Like, whenever you're asking a question or like you're just making a statement, like, oh, like I haven't seen Jeff in a while, eh? Or like, you know what I mean? Like it's I say that all the time, and it's not even like a second thought. It literally is something that we say. It's funny that people make kind of like poke fun at us for it, but I like it. I've kind of embraced the Canadian accent more and more as I've gotten older.
I think even the Canadian, like, I think in like our sense of humor is like a weird hybrid sense of humor. Like I feel like in like if you go to like Britain or even like Australian, like there's kind of like this like push and shove, like dry kind of like sarcasm.
Yeah.
And then if you
banter.
go to and if you go to the States, it's a lot more direct of like
they're a lot more.
They just shit on each other. Whereas like Canadians kind of like this hybrid of like sarcasm, dry, like kind of like, but it's also shitting on you.
Yeah.
And like when you speak to people, I know from my experience, like I speak to people that they're like they almost like can't tell, like, is this guy maybe, and this is just maybe like how, like where I fall on the certain spectrums. Like it's like sometimes I feel like people are like, is he being sarcastic or is he dumb? Like,
yeah, no, I get that. I mean, that's person to person too, but yeah, comedy or like, that kind of stuff is definitely cultural, right? It's more relevant culturally, different places. But yeah, no, I get where you're coming from on that. Like, there's definitely a specific type of
humor
Canadian
that we like.
Humor, yeah, 100%.
And it's like a hybrid of like, I need to shit on myself.
I did notice that in even going down to the States. I've gone down to LA a bunch of times. I've been to Vegas. I've been to Oregon.
You're a rambling man, dude.
Been about.
Yeah.
I've been about, bud. Yeah.
I've been everywhere, man.
But the thing I do notice about the States is like there are some really key differences between like Americans and Canadians, and just the way that we communicate with other people. You know, like it is like it's palatable when you're down there. It's like, oh, I can see like it's different here than it is in Canada for sure. So
yeah, and even just like the way people speak to each other or like interact with each other, it's I do feel like anywhere you have like big cities, it's gonna be that vibe of like head down, headphones in, like kind of just like.
yeah,
Look, the reality is when you live around 4 million people, you don't really have the bandwidth in your brain or the
you don't.
time in the day or the energy to interact positively and
it's not a small community. You're in a big city, right?
Well, and you just can't like emotionally connect with that many people.
No, 150 max.
Like you like so
whatever that law is
you
called.
can't even like care about that many. At some point, like it's kind of like I can't care this much about all these people and myself. Like it's
100%. I also heard somewhere else, and this might be true, this might be not true. This could be some social media stuff, but that the reason that people are more stressed out in the city is because so regularly, like you just said, you can't have that many emotional connections with people. You have like your tribe. Tribes were maximum 150 people. I forget the exact name of the law, but there's a specific law that states like you shouldn't have more than 150 connections or 150 people in a company.
right.
And because there's so many people, your subconscious mind is constantly picking up on like, oh, this person's not my tribe. This person's not my tribe. This person's not my tribe.
Like you start to subconsciously.
You're subconsciously vetting every single person you pass as like, are they a potential threat or are they friendly? Are they a potential threat or are they friendly? And that's why there's a constant state of also stress, because your autonomic nervous system, like your fight or flight system, is kind of always on. Because you're not sure of the people that are around you.
Mm-hmm.
There's too many, right? So you're constantly having to kind of be on edge or on your toes about, especially downtown Vancouver, where you got some people that are just unhinged.
Yeah.
Right? And I
They'll
see it
knife a guy for asking them not to vape in their kid's face and shit.
I used to go to that coffee shop almost every day. Yeah. And I walked past there that very day later in the day, and I was
hey,
like,
do you mind not vaping in my kid's face and then you're eating a knife?
Stabbed in the heart. Yeah, it's fucking nuts, man. Yeah, no, it's crazy. And I feel like that's also one of the things in Canada. Like I saw somebody comment online, there was a post on this Instagram profile of a homeless guy just yelling on the train, and people are like, why didn't they knock him out?
Wait, an Instagram profile of a guy yelling on a train?
It was
it's his profile?
No.
Like
it's like 604 TV or whatever. It's but it's a guy.
604 Buzz or something.
Yeah. So it's a guy clearly tweaking, and he's yelling at people on the train. Apparently he slapped a girl or something.
Nice.
And this guy gets in between them, and so people are like, why didn't somebody knock him out? Like, why didn't somebody do this? I'm like, you know what it is? It's because
you'll go to jail. You'll be the one.
You don't know what they have on them. They could stab you with a dirty needle. They could stab you with a knife. We don't carry weapons out here, so I mean, not everybody does, but you know what I mean. Like it's more. People are more worried about the repercussions of their actions, and they don't want to become a statistic, right?
Yeah.
Otherwise, gladly,
and like, dude, the guy that's tweaking on a SkyTrain is like in that situation. This is the way I see it playing out. Guy's tweaking on a SkyTrain. He fucking hits somebody, like maybe a woman or whatever, and then some fucking guy steps in and goes, "Dude, you can't do that." Knocks him out, whatever, anything like that. That just like hypothetically,
yeah.
Society in Vancouver, unfortunately, and our justice system looks at that and goes, well, there's a victim who's suffering and dealing with mental illness and addiction, and we need to be more compassionate.
You don't want to have assault on your record either, right?
And then the other guy is now the assailant. Like he's the guy, he's the bad guy.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if it works exactly like that, but I think sometimes it's a tough situation.
You get what I'm saying, though.
It's a tough situation. We have a broken system.
Yeah,
that's point blank what it is. I do have compassion for the homeless people and people that are addicted to drugs. Like that's such a tough life, and like we don't know the decisions or the life that kind of got them there. But at the end of the day, like our system needs to take care of its citizens and everybody in the system, right? And
Yeah.
like those people need rehabilitation, and they need to have, like, ideally some of them need to have forced rehabilitation.
Yep.
In my mind.
I
And
majority of them. in my eyes.
Citizens need to be able to walk around the city feeling like they're safe, which
Yeah.
I can say a lot of people right now with all the shootings and the stabbings and all this stuff, they're kind of like, oh, like, like, is it even safe to walk around, especially like females, right? Like people that are untrained in martial arts.
Yeah.
So.
I mean, I think that everything that they're doing right now is completely backwards. I think.
It's insane.
I was a like card carrying like socialist liberal for a long time, like, and I say that sarcastically, but I was like very like. 2 years ago, I had conversations where I was explaining why it would be good to legalize every substance, like literally 2 years ago.
Yeah.
And I've had to realize after seeing it happen, it's like, well, if you look at the black market of drugs, I think it's somewhere like 60% of the black market of drugs in Vancouver is safe supply supplied. Like
Yeah.
It's like literally people go into the safe supply, get the drugs, and then go sell it on the streets. And it's like, there is nothing compassionate about the downtown east side when you're walking down there and you're seeing people shit on the sidewalk
a nightmare. It's
and
an
piss on
actual
each other,
real life nightmare.
and they're literally dying on the street. And then the person that needs to like walk to work has to walk by that and be like, "Oh, I'm inhaling
Crack
heroin
smoke. Yeah.
and shit." And
it's more trank these days than anything else, I think, which is like a mix of like
fentanyl and something else.
ketamine, I think.
Yeah.
It's like horse trank and fentanyl mixed. And that's what's slumping people over, right?
But the thing is like people are like, "Oh, we have to be what part of that is compassionate? Allowing people to die slowly, the most humiliating and undignified way, while we all pretend there's no problems, and then send money to other countries."
Yeah, no.
Like, where's the compassionate in this?
Yeah.
Like, what? Who are we?
And I mean, if you've
to?
been down to the downtown east side and walked through there, like I was even at a show at what's it called?
Which one?
The one of the music venues down there right on East Hastings there.
Not the Vogue.
No, not the Vogue. That's on Granville.
That's the Granville.
I'm just blanking hard right now.
I can't remember. I don't. Like I said, I try and avoid.
Anyways,
downtown,
I was down on East Hastings, and I still walk through there occasionally, just to like. I used to work down there. I started off doing drywall when I was like 18.
Fuck yeah.
And we were building SROs down there, and that was my first kind of glimpse at like it was still a madhouse down there even then. Like it's been around for ages, but it's definitely picked up, right? But it's yeah, man, it's people living hard. It's like it's people living a hard life, and it's like it's tough because like I've talked to multiple people about this. There's so many different ways to look at it, different answers, but at the end of the day, like what we're doing right now is clearly not the answer. It's clearly not working. So we need some sort of a switch, right? We need some massive policy changes, and yeah, but everybody's gonna have their 2 cents, and it's tough to know what's the right way to go, but yeah, I don't think our tax dollars are being spent effectively in that regard whatsoever.
Yeah. I can go off on that for a long time, but I do think the thing is I
want to wrap it up soon here too.
Yeah, I know. I just looked at the time. I will. Yeah.
I got hot yoga.
No, I know. I was just going to say, I hate to sound doom and gloom because I'm on both sides. I'm very upset with a lot of the things I see in this world, but that also drives me to want to make it more beautiful and more better. Like, that's the thing is
100%.
Like, I have seen a lot of the times in my life where I've contributed to negative forces in the world with anger and hatred and jealousy and wanting to make people feel as bad as I did. And every time it made me worse, and it made the world worse, and I don't want to do that anymore.
Yeah, and I think that even like, talking about the downtown east side, there are so many good people that are helping, like down there, like social workers, people are dedicating their lives to help some of these people, and there is like some really great people in the world. I just feel like there needs to be the system needs complete overhaul. Like
Yeah.
it needs complete overhaul. There's been a degrading of the system over the last 15, 20 years that just, you know, I feel like they did the first few steps of some of the steps from like, you know, some of those Eastern European countries that have, like we said, the forced.
Wait till you read 1984, brother. You're gonna see the.
Yeah.
There is some scenes in there where I can't wait to tell you about these once you've read it because I don't want to ruin it.
Yeah, no, for sure.
I love that book, and I have the predecessor. There's a book called We, and it is the book that George Orwell read that inspired him to write
that book.
1984.
Crazy.
It's a little bit less detailed about how they got there.
Yeah.
But it's a little bit more dystopian and creepy about how they live. But on that note, we'll wrap up. We'll get your ass into Vancouver and get you on
There we go.
to a yoga class. Judah Ratzlaff. Is it Ratzlaff? Ratzlaff? How do you say it?
It's Ratzlaff.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you very much, brother.
Yeah, thanks for having me on. It's been great.
Much love and peace out.
Good combo, and yeah, anytime, man.
Looking forward to the next one.
Beauty.
Enjoy your Thursday. Enjoy your weekend. See you guys on Monday. Much love. Peace out. Bye.
Peace.